He's just an ordinary guy who recently started working part-time for a food delivery app, in a quiet little countryside town where nothing ever happens. But every time he rings this particular doorbell, his heart starts pounding in fear. Because the customer living behind this door is the single most terrifying woman he has ever seen in his life. He can barely stutter out a greeting before his soul starts leaving his body. She's enormous, towering over him in the doorway, staring down at him in complete silence. He's scared to death. He has never had to deal with such a stern-looking woman before. His people skills are already terrible, so his plan is simple: hand over the bag, and run for his life. And when he glances up, he swears he can see murderous intent burning in her eyes. He shouts a panicked thank you and bolts, more convinced than ever that she's a truly terrifying woman. But what he never sees, is her still standing at the door after he's gone, silently holding the bag, almost like she wanted to say something. He pedals away as fast as his legs can carry him. He'd love nothing more than to switch routes with another courier. The problem is, in this tiny countryside town, he is the only courier. There's no escape. And in moments like these, there's only one way to calm his shattered nerves: watching his favorite idol, his favorite VTuber, Favorite-chan. A shy, flower-crowned streamer whose natural, clumsy charm speaks to his soul, because deep down, she's just as socially awkward as he is. Tonight she's live, playing a building game. And the very second she announces that she finally understands how the game works, a monster one-shots her on the spot. Then her character just stops moving. The chat starts wondering if she went AFK. She was not AFK. She respawns to find her house burning to the ground, and lets out a scream of pure despair. The dream house she worked so hard to build, reduced to ashes. And in her eyes, this is entirely the chat's fault. The viewers show zero mercy, laughing and joking that at least they're keeping her off the dying alone route. And as she bursts out laughing and playfully tells her chat to shut up, he smiles at his phone. Watching her always brings him peace. Then a single question from the chat changes the entire mood of the stream. Someone asks if there's anything she wants to overcome. Her answer is painfully honest. More than anything, she wants to overcome the social anxiety she suffers from in real life, because she's just so hopelessly shy. The chat tells her that talking to people online should be enough. But she admits the truth: streaming is the only place in the world where she can speak freely. She says that knowing her fans struggle through real life just like she does, is exactly what keeps her going. And those words pierce straight through him. If she's fighting this hard, how can he keep running away? She declares her dream: to one day be able to communicate in the real world. His dream, word for word. He clenches his phone, blushing, silently cheering her on. And at that exact moment, his phone buzzes. A new delivery request. From her address. Again, panic sets in immediately. Why would she order again so soon? Is it just to complain about him? He's already mentally writing his own will, but then he remembers her words. While Favorite-chan is out there pushing herself so hard, he has no excuse not to try. He makes a vow: this time, he'll deliver the order with a big smile, without running away. There's just one terrifying detail: she's already waiting for him at the door. And there she stands. Arms crossed. Eyes cold. Radiating an aura that could stop a war. His brain reads that expression as a death sentence. To him, she looks ready to crush him like an insect for daring to be late. But he pushes through the fear and flashes the biggest, brightest smile of his entire life, greeting her properly for the very first time. And then, she opens her mouth to speak. That voice. He knows that voice. His mind refuses to accept it. There's no chance in hell. The trembling, terrifying giant of a woman standing in front of him thanks him for his time, in the unmistakable voice of Favorite-chan. The scariest woman he has ever met, is his favorite idol. And his quiet countryside life is about to get a whole lot scarier. But there's another side to that very first delivery: what happened behind the door, right after he ran away. The so-called terrifying lady collapses against the wall, heart racing, completely overwhelmed, because it's been ages since she last spoke to another human being. That murderous glare was just a shut-in trying her absolute best. Meanwhile, the delivery boy rides home genuinely happy that he managed to thank her properly. And back in her apartment, she hugs her grocery bag and quietly admits to herself that she actually wants to talk to him so much more. Then she opens her bento with sparkling eyes, deciding she's earned a meal for all that hard work. And she takes her meals very seriously, at least 5 of them a day. The mystery of her intimidating size, solved. The next delivery comes sooner than he'd like. Once again, he finds himself standing in front of that same dreaded door. And once again, it swings open to reveal the lady whose glare could freeze hell itself. She's huge. Every survival instinct in his body is screaming at him to run, but he fights through the terror and manages to stutter out the company greeting. Barely. She's glaring at him again. Or at least, that's what his terrified brain keeps telling him. After what happened last time, his thoughts are spiraling. He still can't get over how much this woman sounds exactly like his favorite VTuber. And the more he thinks about it, the more terrifying the possibility becomes. She could actually be Fawari-chan. And then, without warning, she leans in. Close. Way too close. Their faces are just inches apart. In his panicked imagination, she's seconds away from calling him disgusting and ending his existence. In reality, she's just hoping her hair bow, styled after Fawari-chan's, might somehow ease his nerves. These two are absolutely hopeless. His fight or flight kicks in. He slams the door shut himself, yells out a thank you, and sprints for dear life. But she chases him down the street, and catches him by the wrist. Her grip is inhumanly strong. In his mind, this is it, this is how his story ends. But instead of murdering him, she crouches down low, gathers every last ounce of her courage, and tells him there's no one else she can turn to. And in that instant, the truth hits him like lightning. That voice really is Fawari-chan's voice. She forces the words out, one painful syllable at a time, confessing that she's bad with people, that even simple conversation is a struggle for her. And in his head, the words from her stream echo back, her dream of overcoming the social anxiety she faces in the real world. Everything is connecting. She confesses that she even buys her groceries online now, because she hasn't been face to face with another person in a very, very long time. But then she looks up at him, and she tells him how happy she was, the day he smiled at her. That forced, terrified delivery smile of his, it actually reached someone. Then the floodgates burst open. She starts rambling at the speed of light, about the paper he places under the food, about the lunchboxes always arriving intact, about how fast he always is. He can barely keep up with her. And finally, he understands everything. This woman was never angry at him. Not even once. She was just desperately looking for a chance to talk to him. She's been doing her best all along, just like Fawari-chan. Then she drops the bomb. She's decided she wants to try her best in the real world, with him. His mind races. Is she seriously trying to overcome the one thing she's worst at? And right there, he makes his decision. It doesn't matter whether this woman is Fawari-chan or not. Someone is standing in front of him fighting the exact same battle he fights every single day. And he refuses to let that determination go unanswered. But before he can finish his heroic inner monologue, she bows her head and begs him to talk with her, offering to pay him whatever he wants. And that's how, crushed under the pressure of the moment, he accidentally agreed to become a paid conversation partner for the scariest woman in town. He has no idea how it came to this. But to understand just how hard she's trying, the story rewinds to the previous day. Fists clenched, fire in her eyes, she swears to herself that next time, she'll speak properly with the delivery boy. But first, she decides she needs to practice talking like a normal, functioning human being. So she rehearses in front of the mirror like her life depends on it, practicing small talk about the weather, offering imaginary tea, thanking an imaginary delivery boy. She even practices the casual, cool-sounding replies. Every detail matters. And after one full evening of talking to her own reflection, she reaches a dangerously confident conclusion: she has officially overcome her social anxiety and completely mastered the art of communication. She falls asleep under the blanket still rehearsing her lines, whispering to herself that she can do this. The next day arrives. She fires herself up, ready to give it her absolute best, and right on cue, the doorbell rings. It was impossible. The moment he spoke, every single line she practiced evaporated from her brain. All that training, gone in an instant. Another day, another delivery. By now the job itself is routine, but this address never is. Because today, the scary One-san is waiting for him with a fan of cold hard cash in her hand, looking scarier than ever. His brain short-circuits. Why is she holding that much money at her front door? Trembling, he asks what the money is for. Her answer destroys him. She asks how much it would cost for him to talk to her. This One-san is literally trying to buy him. He desperately tries to explain that paying someone just for their company is more than a little redundant. And then he says the word that breaks her heart: impossible. She panics, wondering out loud if the money simply wasn't enough. He snaps back that it was never about the money. He can't quite put it into words, but something about being paid to talk to her just feels wrong. She stands there, devastated, and quietly agrees that he's right, as he apologizes and walks away. On the way home, he keeps telling himself he did the right thing. So why does it feel so wrong? That night, Fuwari-chan goes live with a gaming stream, as cheerful as always. He figured watching her stream would wash the whole day away, like it always does. But for some reason, there's an uneasiness sitting in his chest that won't leave. On stream, she keeps losing. Round after round. She laughs it off, admitting she's really out of her game today, but the chat starts to notice something is off. Her energy is lower than ever. Lying in bed, he sees it too. Fuwari-chan is nothing like her usual happy self. And then she breaks. She cries out that she's useless, that she always does stupid things. Through the tears, she confesses that she recently messed up badly in real life, and probably bothered someone with her selfishness. Then she forces a smile and apologizes to her viewers for worrying them. And watching her apologize, his blood runs cold. He knows exactly who she messed up with. He's yelling at his phone now, telling her she did nothing wrong, that her clumsy demeanor is the cutest thing in the world. But then he freezes. The way she nervously clasps her hands on stream, he's seen that exact gesture before. In real life. At a certain front door, that Wani-san was clumsy in exactly the same way. And for the first time, he starts wondering how badly his rejection must have hurt her. Then he hears it through the stream, a sniffle. She's crying. Something inside him snaps. He cannot let Fuwari-chan cry. He fires off a 10,000 yen super chat telling her the fans have her back. She thanks him through the tears while begging him to stop spending money on her. Because that's his creed, he wants Fuwari-chan to always smile. His star's problems are his problems. And if his star's problems are his problems, then so are that Wani-san's. The next morning, a new order comes in from her address, with a note asking him to just leave it at the door. She's given up on talking to him completely. He stands frozen in the hallway, wrestling with himself. He swore he'd support her determination, didn't he? Then the door cracks open, and from behind it she quietly tells him it's completely okay if he just ignores her. But he doesn't ignore her. He explains that he refused the money because paying for kindness just isn't right, and then admits the truth. He genuinely wants to help her, even if she doesn't pay a single yen. The door bursts open. She can't believe what she's hearing. He really doesn't want the money. She stands there stunned, struggling to find words. And then, in a small, trembling voice, she asks if he would really, truly talk to her. His answer comes instantly, yes. With pleasure. And the scariest woman in town covers her face and whispers a tearful thank God, smiling like the sun. His first reaction. Pure panic. He just made her cry again. But before he can even process it, she's already dragging him inside for breakfast so they can talk over food. The poor guy has no idea what he just signed up for. He's about to step inside the house of the horrifying Wani-san. She holds the door open and quietly tells him to come in. Stammering an apology for intruding, he edges through the doorway. The situation simply doesn't leave him any room to refuse. But even now, up close, this Wani-san is still terrifying. The door swings shut behind him with a heavy clunk, and his soul nearly leaves his body. This is terrible, he thinks, sweat pouring down his face. His mind spirals. Is it really okay for someone like him to just walk into a stranger's home like this? He feels like a character in one of those crime dramas, the kind who gets lured off the street and brought home to be murdered. And then, with a sudden lunge, she reaches out toward him. He freezes, certain his end has come. I'm going to get killed, he screams inside, staring up at her looming face. But she only stumbles, flustered, apologizing in a panic and insisting she'll help him up. Then his eyes land on something she dropped. A bundle of papers. What on earth is this, he wonders. She scrambles to snatch it back, crying out in pure horror. She bows her head to the floor, apologizing again and again, mortified. Somehow, the two of them end up seated at her table, a full home-cooked breakfast spread out between them. He wonders if she really means to eat all of this. She, meanwhile, mumbles an apology for tackling him a moment ago. There's no way she's actually going to kill him, he tells himself. All that dread was just needless overthinking. Curious, he asks about the papers he saw. Caught off guard, she stiffens, asking if he really saw them. It was a script. Shyly, she admits the truth. For a short while, she once did voiceover work. Voiceover work? The words hit him like a thunderbolt. He blurts out that voiceover is incredibly cool, that it's no wonder her voice is so beautiful. Is she still doing it, he asks. But her face falls. Something like that, she murmurs, hardly suits someone like her. She begins to explain. A lot was whispered behind her back. She has no talent, people said, and only ever stood out because of her huge, intimidating body. They claimed she only landed the role to fill a quota, not because of any real skill. People found her size frightening. One by one, they grew scared of her and pulled away. A monster like me, she says softly, should know its place. But he won't have it. They were only jealous, he insists, because she's incredibly beautiful. Those people told her cruel things, again and again. But he's certain of something. Because he knows that pain himself. He was always mocked for being small, and he tried so hard not to let it reach him. They just laughed and laughed. It hurt like hell, he admits, fists clenched. But, Wani-san, for crying out loud, he looks her dead in the eye and declares it. He loves her voice. And then his heart spills out. Whenever he's exhausted and ready to give up on living, one thing always saves him. Fuwari-chan streams. Tears in his eyes, he tells her how the first time he heard her voice, it healed something incredible inside him, exactly the way Fuwari-chan does. It's a voice you want to hear even in your hardest times, he says. Warm, strong, and just a little high-pitched. The very voice of his beloved flower-crowned streamer. He shouts it from the heart. A voice like that is truly admirable. Then he catches himself, flushing red. He got way too fired up. What is he even doing, he panics. But across the table, she's gone still, cheeks burning, tears welling at the corners of her eyes. He has no idea he's just praised her two voices at once. A trembling, giddy little smile breaks across her face, the happiest expression she's worn in years. He just stares, utterly bewildered. What kind of expression is that, he wonders. A buzz interrupts the moment. While she happily taps away at her own phone, he reaches for his. A notification glows on the screen. A message from the Delivery Eater app. His jaw drops. He's just been legally rewarded with a ridiculously large bounty. She's tipped him an absurd amount, sneaking the money to him after all. And so the strangest morning of his life ends with a scream. The morning after breakfast, the delivery boy stares at his phone in disbelief. A notification glows back at him. He's just received the maximum possible tip, sent by the very same scary Wani-san sitting across from him. She's the first person who's ever maxed out a tip on him. The sheer size of it leaves him stunned. He shoots up from the table, panicking. Didn't he already tell her she doesn't need to pay him a single yen? She lowers her eyes, flustered, trying to defend herself. But still, it's just a reward for the delivery service, she insists, sweating bullets. Surely sending money for a delivery is the correct way to do things. He fires back that it's not okay, even if it's technically legal. In his head, he reminds himself she's only doing this out of guilt. He doesn't want Fuwari-chan crying over something like money. She mumbles that with all the tension lately, she can't talk freely, unless it's done officially, through a payment. Softening, she admits it's been a long time since she worked this hard, and it's all thanks to him. So, she stammers, she wants to do something in return. If she doesn't, the guilt will be the death of her, she declares dramatically, gripping a bottle. That's when she notices it. The food he spilled earlier has stained his clothes. He flails and apologizes in a panic, but it's already done. She seizes her chance. With a determined humph, she announces she'll clean it up herself. She looms over him, enormous, and he yelps that he can do it himself. He protests that she's completely ignoring personal boundaries again. She counters that she's been wanting to do this for a while. He keeps insisting it's impossible. She keeps urging him to come on. Then she drops the bomb, deadpan, take off your clothes. She'll wash him, she says. Let's take a bath together. He screams that she's going way too far. But her logic is innocent. She's not aiming at anything strange. Someone as big as her would just get in the way and make a bigger mess, she reasons. And it clicks for him. Oh, he sees now. She doesn't even think of herself as a woman standing before a man. Maybe her sense of personal space is this warped because her self-esteem is rock bottom. That, he realizes, is why all her boundaries are so utterly broken. Oblivious, she turns to go heat up the bathwater. He scrambles after her, begging her to wait a minute. Then he says the thing that stops her cold. Wani-san, he asks gently, perhaps what you really want, is a friend? She freezes mid-step. Huh. He tells her he wants to support her, so he at least wants to know her real goal. What is it she truly wants? And she confesses it, quiet and trembling. Someday, she wants to go outside, and talk to other people. Then, he says, leaning in with a spark in his eye. Wani-san, come out together with me. Let's go outside, together. The words hit her like the whole universe opening up. The idea of stepping out among people leaves her dizzy with terror. She imagines it, surrounded by crowds, swallowed by faces. She nearly screams. Backpedaling, he reassures her. Not that kind of outing. Maybe just a late-night, deserted convenience store. She wails that she can't do it, she'll be choked by the crowd. He steadies her. Step by step, they'll make her goals come true. Besides, he tells himself, he needs to earn a tip this big properly. Beaming, he promises he'll be by her side. Together, anywhere. His sunny confidence flusters her all over again. Flushed and sweating, she presses a hand to her chest and nods. I see. I understand. Step by step, right? With that settled, he smiles and says they should call it a day here. But as he heads for the door, she clutches a folded futon and asks if he isn't going to stay over. She even bought one just for him. He yelps that this is exactly why her boundaries are so strange. The door slams. He's gone, and she's left alone in the quiet hallway. His words echo in her mind. Come out together with me. She sinks to the floor, overwhelmed, letting out a long shaky breath. Cheeks burning, she cups her own face and finishes the thought she couldn't say aloud. With you, Oni-san. Newly resolved, she vows to do her best with the live stream. Alright, she tells herself. And just like that, Fawari-chan's stream goes live, flower crown and all, with a cheerful greeting to her viewers. But midstream she spots something that makes her pause. Ha! A grin spreads across her face. The local delivery service, Delivery Eater, is recruiting. Sounds good, she murmurs, and a new plan begins to take shape. Days later, he's back on the job, hauling food across the quiet countryside town. He's even earned himself a nice tip lately, and he's determined to put it to good use, for the sake of the Oni-san. So late one night, he ends up meeting her again at the delivery spot, the towering, shadowy Oni-san waiting in the dark. And the second he sees her, his heart nearly stops. Out here in the night she looks more imposing than ever. He swears he might get struck dead just by the weight of her gaze. But the moment she speaks, the menace evaporates. The terrifying giant is just a trembling, teary mess, anxiously asking if it's really okay for her to even be outside. And to his own horror, he realizes he's the nervous one now, panicking over why his own heart is racing so hard. She confesses she still can't handle interacting with anyone except him, her Oni-san. But there's a reason she's forcing herself out here tonight. He tells her that if she can overcome this fear, she'll finally gain some real confidence. So tonight, they take the first step together. She fidgets, gripping her hoodie, stealing her nerves 3 times over. She tells herself she shouldn't back down now, not when she's getting help from Oni-san. With a determined little nod, she agrees. Alright, he says. Let's go. And yet, he's quietly nervous too. This is his first time seeing her at night, away from her doorstep. Walking beside her, he can't shake it, even shivering and shy, she radiates this overwhelming presence. Then the real test arrives. A stranger calls out to them, just asking a simple question. He prays it'll be alright. Instead, the Oni-san shrieks in terror and clamps onto him, both of them tumbling into chaos as the stranger yelps in confusion. And the so-called stranger? Just a stray cat wandering by. He can barely believe it. She insists she was startled for a totally different reason. He, meanwhile, was startled out of his skin too. He rallies them onward, telling her they're almost there now. But then she freezes, her face falling. They've reached the brightly lit convenience store, the goal of tonight's challenge. He waits, hopeful. She hesitates at the threshold, trembling, unable to take that final step inside. And then she breaks, covering her face, choking out that she just can't do it. Nearby, gossiping strangers whisper that the tall woman acting so timid is kind of unsettling, the very judgment she dreads. She crumbles, sobbing that she's just too scared of people, that she simply can't. All she wants, she says, is to someday walk outside freely and talk to other people like everyone else. And he's stunned. Is it really this hard for her just to step outside? He never understood the depth of her fear until now. She weeps that even with all his help, she only ends up disappointing him more and more. Head bowed, she apologizes, her spirit utterly crushed. He stares at her, something firming up behind his eyes. Gently, she asks if they should just turn back and go home, but he refuses to let her call this a failure. What matters most, he tells her, isn't conquering everything tonight, it's knowing what she can do right now, and building her confidence from there. She said she couldn't do it, but, he points out with a grin. He points up toward the distant apartment building, way up there, to her room. It's all the way up there, she realizes, staring at how far her home truly is. Isn't it amazing, he says, that she made it all this way? She came so much farther than she gives herself credit for. He promises to stay right by her side until she can do it. Little by little, step by step, she'll be just fine. He beams that he'll always be by her side, that they'll face it all together. And her breath catches. Something shifts in her tear-streaked face, a quiet, trembling warmth blooming under the cap. Then, suddenly, she reaches out and takes his hand, and his eyes go wide. He stammers, flustered, "What is she doing, Wani-san?" Through her tears, she says she feels like she can still try a little harder. "If you're like this," she murmurs, finding her courage in him. And he reflects, the Wani-san is big and imposing, and sometimes, yes, he genuinely thinks she's scary. But her eyes are always sincere, always fixed on facing the very things she's worst at. So when she squeezes his hand, he answers without a shred of doubt. Yes. Under a sky full of stars, she steels herself, because for the sake of helping this Wani-san, he is here. And hand in hand, the two of them charge toward the door at last. Let's go. Another delivery run through the sleepy countryside town. He never imagined this job would lead him here. Somehow, in the heat of the moment, he ended up holding hands with the terrifying Wani-san from his delivery route, and now they're out together. Wanting to keep the moment going, he casually suggests they grab some ice cream. She freezes. That low, ominous aura starts rolling off her again, and his courage instantly evaporates. Then she lunges for a freezer basket and starts grabbing ice cream by the armful. He panics. Is she seriously about to buy that much? She struggles to get a word out, stammering under the brim of her cap. Finally it spills out. She's stockpiling so she won't have to leave the house again for a while. His heart sinks for her. He frantically tries to calm her down before she empties the freezer. But in her flustered state, the basket slips from her grip. He dives and catches it just in time. He tells her it's okay, no harm done. But her face is a storm of unreadable emotion. She leans in close, towering over him, that huge intimidating presence filling his whole vision. He spirals, certain she's furious, and starts apologizing for getting too close to her. But that's not it at all. She tearfully insists she's not mad. It's just her self-loathing talking, calling herself an insect, garbage, nothing. He watches in alarm as her self-esteem nosedives in real time. He scrambles for a way to help her. What is he supposed to do here? Then he spots the store clerk, and an idea forms. Of all times, the clerk has stepped away to restock the shelves. To buy anything, someone will have to call out to him. He hesitates. Speaking to a stranger might be far too big a challenge for her right now. He braces himself, ready to be the one to call the clerk over instead. But before he can, she steps forward, mouth opening to try. Her trembling hand reaches out, gently stopping him from interfering. He stares, stunned. Wani-san. It clicks for him. Right. She wants to do this herself. She's trying to move forward on her own. The shut-in who can barely leave her room is forcing herself to take a real step. All he can do now is watch her make the effort. And it's painful, seeing how hard she has to fight for something so small. She forces out a strangled "excuse me," her whole body shaking. He throws his arms up, silently cheering her on from the sidelines. She tries again. "Excuse me," her voice barely a thread. But the words choke and die in her throat, dissolving into desperate coughing. Then, oblivious, the clerk simply calls out for them to head to the register. He blurts out a flustered apology. She slumps with a heavy sigh. He gently asks if she's all right, but she's beaming. A self-checkout register, she realizes, means she can pay without speaking a single word. He grins. Good call. They make their way to the machine together. Their hands brush close as they work. Outside the glass, the quiet storefront glows in the night. He declares it triumphantly, mission konbini, cleared. She was amazing. The whole payment was done online, without her ever having to say a word. A small, perfect victory. Out in the night air, she nervously asks him, did she do a good job? He breaks into the brightest grin. Yes. She did wonderfully. The praise lands, and her stern face softens. And then, beneath her cap, she smiles, truly smiles, and thanks him so very much. He flushes red, completely undone by it. The tender moment shatters. A man comes sprinting toward them, shouting Oniai-san. It's a delivery driver, breathless and apologetic. He forgot to include an ice cream spoon in the packet, for his girlfriend. The boy barely registers the word. She, however, leans in with a slow, dangerous smile and thanks the man. Their hands are still loosely linked. She squeezes, right now, and the boy short-circuits. Girlfriend? She repeats, equal parts flustered and electrified by the misunderstanding. Do we really look like a couple? She demands, their joined hands held up between them. His mind reels. Someone like me, with someone like her. The thought alone is overwhelming. That ominous aura rises off her once more as the question hangs unanswered in the dark. He manages only a weak, dazed agreement, far too rattled to think straight. She thanks the driver politely, her mind clearly somewhere far away. Privately, she resolves to understand her position properly from now on, so as not to cause trouble for him. And under the full moon, as he walks ahead, she clutches her hands to her chest, one word echoing through her, girlfriend. It begins like any other shift. The socially anxious delivery boy is back on his bike, working part-time for the delivery eater service. But lately something feels off. He's convinced the towering Wani-san at one of his delivery destinations has come to dislike him. Every handoff at her door is now unbearably awkward, the silence stretching between them. He blames himself. The other day a customer mistook them for a couple, a girlfriend even, and he's sure it made her uncomfortable. So he decides the safe move is to just hand over the food and leave as quickly as possible, to avoid any misunderstanding. But when he reaches her, she's trembling uncontrollably, barely able to stammer out a thank you. His heart sinks. Does she really not want to see him that much? Panicking, he blurts out an apology and tells himself he needs to get out of there immediately. What he doesn't know is what's racing through her mind. She was just so nervous she couldn't speak at all, because every time she thinks back to that moment, he flees, the door slamming behind him, agonizing over what he should even do. The next day, it's no better. The moment she sees him she freezes up again, and he feels threatened all over. The day after that, she's so stiff and mechanical he half wonders if she's turned into a robot. And finally it hits him. Her communication skills aren't recovering, they're getting worse, and he's terrified it's his fault. He keeps it short and cold, just handing over today's order with a clipped goodbye. A quick thank you, and he turns to go. He tells himself this is how it should be. Keep his distance, stop bothering her, end the discomfort. But as he steps away, her hand shoots out and grabs him. Wait, she cries. He spins around, stunned. Flushed and shaking, she pleads with him not to run away from her, please. The words come pouring out. She's sorry for being so weird, she chokes, apologizing again and again. She confesses the truth. She'd been acting strange because she thought he hated her, ever since that day they were mistaken for a couple. And the thing she dreads most of all, she admits, is the relationship they'd built together vanishing. Tears streaming down her face, she cries that she doesn't like it. She doesn't want things to end. He stares at her, the realization dawning. She doesn't hate him at all. I see, he thinks, the whole misunderstanding finally clicking into place. They're exactly the same. She misread him and pulled away, just like he misread her. From her side, he must have suddenly seemed distant and cold, leaving her anxious and confused. He'd even wasted all the courage she'd poured into reaching out to him, so he bursts out his own apology. It was his fault, he insists, he's the one who's sorry. And then he tells her the truth that matters most. His feelings of wanting to support her, those came from a misunderstanding too. But that one thing, he swears, will never change. She breaks down in relief, sobbing that she'd been so afraid he might hate her. Thank goodness, she whispers. Tears spilling over, she clings to his arm, the two of them finally on the same side again. He knows he isn't cured. He might still misread things in the future, but from now on, being there for his Wani-san comes first. He'll make it his priority. And by the way, there's just one small problem. She still hasn't let go of his arm. And as the seconds drag on, he can't help wondering exactly how long she plans to hold on. The delivery boy heads out on another run, telling himself today is just like any other day on the job. But at the delivery destination, something stops him cold. A girl he has never seen before is standing there. His mind goes blank. Who in the world is she? And worst of all, she is standing right in front of Wani-san's room. Someone he doesn't recognize, besides him. Did Wani-san order from somewhere else? The girl is barely the height of an elementary schooler, yet she carries a delivery backpack just like his. She pounds on the door and rings the bell, waiting for an answer. Then the door opens, and the towering Wani-san looms out. The girl is from a service called Delivery Eater. He watches in disbelief, certain this tiny stranger is about to be crushed by Wani-san's terrifying presence. He braces himself, ready to step in and clear up the misunderstanding before the poor girl is scared out of her wits. But instead, the girl beams up at Wani-san with a radiant, fearless smile, cheerfully announcing she's from Delivery Eater. She asks brightly if she's at the right place, holding out the bento she's come to deliver. Wani-san hesitates, mumbling, while the little girl simply waits without a trace of fear. He can hardly believe it. She's handling Wani-san perfectly, not afraid in the slightest. Just who is this girl? She is so completely different from how he himself was back when he first started. A bitter thought creeps in. Maybe this girl is far better suited to delivering to Wani-san than he ever was. Then the girl finally notices him standing there, and her eyes go wide with shock. She demands to know why there's another delivery person here. She thought this whole area was her exclusive market. And in an instant, that angelic smile from before vanishes completely. He realizes that in her own way, this little girl is putting just as much pressure on him as Wani-san does. She glares up at him and snarls that he's in her way. Despite her tiny size, she is genuinely scary. Contrary to her small, adorable appearance, she radiates pure menace. He stammers an awkward apology, trying to smooth things over, and the girl's expression softens just a little. Then he says something that catches her completely off guard. He muses that Wani-san has a voice exactly like Fawari-chan. And the moment those words leave his mouth, the little girl freezes. She whirls around, stunned. He knows Fawari-chan too. He admits that yes, he knows her. The girl can barely believe it. He knows Fawari-chan as well. Her whole face lights up as she grabs his hand, overjoyed. She can't believe she's met a fellow Fawari-chan fan out here. He shyly agrees that he's a fan too, and she gushes that Fawari-chan is amazing, that she watches her livestream every single day. Then the girl's excitement curdles into panic. She confesses she often sends super chats, and worries Fawari-chan might actually recognize her name. Sweating and trembling, she suddenly looks mortified, terrified of being judged. She rounds on him, snapping that he must think she's a creepy, hardcore otaku, daring him to laugh. But instead, he tells her he's actually happy. She's the very first person he's ever been able to talk to about Fawari-chan in real life. Flustered and red-faced, she insists she won't fall for that, even as her resolve clearly wavers. He's surprised too. He thought this girl was all sharp edges and thorns, but she's far easier to talk to than he imagined. Maybe, he thinks, the two of them could even become friends as fellow fans. But neither of them notices the figure now standing silently in the open doorway behind them. Suddenly Wani-san lunges forward, seizing him from behind and crying out that he is hers. His heart nearly stops. Hers. What on earth could she mean by that? Then his eyes land on the bento box clutched in his bag, and it clicks. Mortified, she's apologizing for being so loud. She only meant give me my bento, quickly. Watching the towering woman fumble her words, the little girl whispers in awe that Wani-san's voice is just so lovely. Starry-eyed, she declares she might just become a fan of Wani-san herself. Then she introduces herself at last. Her name is Akari, and from now on she'll give her all as a delivery person, asking them to take care of her. Wani-san startles, trying to say something, and the delivery boy yelps in surprise. With her bento finally delivered, Akari cheerfully thanks Wani-san and asks her to use the service again. Then she turns to him with a sly look, reminding him that here, they're competitors. Even if they're both fans of Fawari-chan. And with a wave and a promise to see him later, the little rival darts off down the hall. He stands there, processing it all. From now on, that fierce little girl will be coming for deliveries here too. And a quiet worry settles over him. With a competitor like that around, will Wani-san really be okay from now on? But Wani-san only pulls him a little closer, holding tight to him and her bento, her cheeks flushed pink. It seems she has no intention of letting this one go. Around that time, on an ordinary day, Fawari-chan goes live. Her chat is asking how a shut-in is supposed to make friends when she can barely talk to a single soul. And the chat's solution arrives like a thunderclap. Money. It's all about money. Money, they insist, is her only option. She narrows her eyes, certain her own audience is trying to deceive her again. She will not be fooled so easily, but the chat presses on. At idol events, don't you pay for a CD just to earn a handshake, a few seconds of conversation? You're indirectly paying for the interaction, they explain. A small compensation for someone's time. That's just how it works. And somewhere far from the screen, a certain shy woman freezes. It does, horribly, make sense. The blood drains from her face, because paying for conversation wastes the precious time of those gifted with social skills. It's true, she thinks, that a communication-broken monster like her had no other choice. The realization lands like a verdict. Huh. No way. Surely it wasn't really about the money. The chat howls that she's far too innocent, that they fear for Fawari's future. And she, panic blooming, declares she's going to go check her savings balance. Meanwhile, after finally working up the nerve to invite the Wani-san inside for a meal, the delivery boy is quietly glad she agreed. The conversation begins. He's even prepared a bento just for her, setting the tray down with care. At the moment she sees her portion, panic strikes. Her share is enormous, mountainous, far larger than his own. Her stomach screams for more, yet dread grips her harder. If she devours it all, he might finally see her for what she fears she is, an introverted monster who simply eats too much. So she resolves to eat slowly, sparingly, daintily lifting a single careful bite. He glances over, puzzled by her sudden stillness. And then something behind her eyes snaps wide open. She couldn't resist. Her appetite won. Tears streaming, cheeks stuffed, bowl scraped clean, she ate every last bite. Around that time, cast back to how it all began. The delivery boy has just started a food delivery job, and the lady at one address is, to him, simply too terrifying. She stares so hard he wonders if she's angry at him. She stammers out a trembling thank you, as always, and he slowly understands the truth. She isn't glaring. She's just hopelessly bad at talking to other people. And there she stands in the doorway, towering and beautiful and impossibly nervous, the scary Wani-san who was never scary at all. Meanwhile, as the evening winds down and it's time to send the Wani-san home, she hesitates, then asks if he isn't going to stay the night. He flushes, scratching his cheek, fumbling for an answer. Well, She lunges, all but tackling him, insisting through tears that the bedding is incredibly comfortable, you know. Her composure shatters into raw, flailing desperation. He stares, stunned, as she instantly crumbles into wailing apologies. Sorry. And so, after Oniai-san leaves after all, she's left alone with the futon, telling herself she really ought to tidy it away. But her gaze lingers on it, longing flickering across her face. After all, she reasons, it'd be a waste not to use it, she did buy this futon to use it. And so she used it like crazy, burying herself in the warmth he left behind. Around that time, rewind to the day of the convenience store visit. She's finally going to step outside, with the help of her Oniai-san. But disaster strikes before she even reaches the door. Clothes. She doesn't have any. What is she supposed to do? A rare outing demands more than the worn-down loungewear she lives in. Panic sets in. She steels herself with fierce resolve. She needs to wear proper clothes for going out. Then she remembers, she once bought some cute clothes on a whim, long ago. Maybe, just maybe, Oniai-san will look at her differently now. She catches herself mid-daydream, cheeks burning, waving the fantasy away. Just kidding. Just kidding. But when she squeezes into that old outfit, reality bites back. It's tight. In more ways than one, it was tight. The days roll on, shift after shift with delivery eater. And right about now, he is being cornered. By a customer. The Wani-san looms over him, expression flat, menace radiating off her in waves. He freezes, sweat pouring, throat tightening into a strangled groan. He can barely breathe under that stare, shrinking smaller and smaller against the wall. She murmurs an apology. There are people around, she warns him, as if that were the real danger here. He insists it's fine. But she shakes her head. She blocks everyone's way, she says. She's a big person, so when she walks around. And so the question hangs in the air, why are the two of them standing here, in the busy downtown area at all, him? He blinks in disbelief. To understand, the story rewinds. A few days ago, she had come to him about her training, her plan to get comfortable going outside. There was something, she said haltingly, she needed to ask of him next. Could the two of them, she whispers, go to Wani-san's? No, she blurts, the place he always goes to. Could they please go there together, she begs, face burning crimson. The place he always goes to. He recoils, baffled. What on earth does she mean? And she seems more intense than usual, eyes huge and pleading, fixated on this one mysterious request. He realizes with mild horror that taking her to the place he always visits means, a manga cafe. The grimy little manga cafe he frequents. He scrambles to think of a more suitable place, because the cafe sits in the downtown area, far too high a hurdle for her right off the bat. But she leans in close, far too close, declaring a manga cafe is perfect, right there. Her face is so near his that his brain short-circuits. And so, bowing to her wish, he agreed to take her to the manga cafe he always visits. Later that night, which brings them back to the present, and to his quiet panic. What is he supposed to do now? There are far more people out than he expected. The downtown nightlife churns around them, loud and crowded and merciless. On top of that, the streets are packed with young people and drunks, laughing and shouting into the night. Someone is definitely going to bump into her, he frets. They're already too intoxicated to control themselves. They'll notice her in an instant. The downtown area was absolutely not the place for a second visit. He's such an idiot, he berates himself. He wonders if they should take a detour. No, he decides, they just need to get out of here, fast. He turns to her, and she has already shattered. Eyes blank, foaming, terror complete. He lunges with a desperate cry of Wani-san. He apologizes, the downtown was too much too soon, that was his bad choice, as she crumples behind him. Then, suddenly, she rallies. It's easier than she thought, she chirps, a piece of cake, it's totally fine. Far too obvious she's forcing it, he thinks. He can tell she's trying hard. But he watches her shaky, hooded figure press against the wall, and the worry gnaws at him. Is this forced approach really okay, he wonders. He opens his mouth, hesitant. He suggests they take a break somewhere, gently steering her by the wrist away from the crowds. She startles, as he leads her down a quieter street, away from the neon and the noise. He hauls her along, no, over here, toward the park, while she stares back at the empty playground in wide-eyed alarm. Once they reach the deserted park, she stammers out a sorry about all that. She insists she's okay now, just got a bit flustered, and urges they hurry on to the manga cafe. But he sits on the swing beside her, and finally asks the real question. Wani-san, why is she so anxious? She's pushing herself too hard, he tells her, he can tell. If she doesn't start with what she can do, it'll only make everything harder. She lowers her head. Yeah, she admits softly, he's right. She lost control again. He reminds her she has her own life to live, that she shouldn't tear herself apart over this. And so, she says quietly, eyes glistening, gathering the courage to confess the truth behind her request. She had thought, if she could go to the places he always goes to, it wouldn't be boring for him. She didn't want to be a burden. She doesn't want to be a burden to him, she repeats, the words trembling. She felt like she should be done with it all before she caused him any more trouble. So she decided to try her hardest, to grit her teeth and push through for his sake. But in the end, she's just causing trouble again, she whispers, hunched small on the swing beside him. A tear slides down her cheek. I'm sorry, she breathes, hiding her face behind her hand. Wani-san, he says softly. And then he begins to tell her the truth. The manga cafe they were heading to this time, he confesses, it doesn't hold many good memories for him. Actually, for him, those manga cafes never held many good memories at all. They were places he went when he was feeling down. A place to hide away from the world. But, he goes on, when he thinks about going there with her, he feels so positive about it. So, he tells her, eyes steady, he doesn't think she's a burden. Not even a little. If anything, he says, head bowed against the swing chains, he enjoys being with her. And her eyes spill over completely, tears streaming down her flushed face as the words land. Then the embarrassment of what he just said crashes over him, and his own face goes scarlet. Did he just say something really creepy? He panics, fist clenched in mortified horror. Sorry, he yelps, please forget what he just said. She blinks up at him, what's wrong? Then, scrambling to change the subject, he blurts that this is his first time going to a manga cafe with someone. First time, Wani-san's. There are a lot of people today, he reasons, so they should head back for now. They can always come again when they're not in a rush. But she grips the swing chains, gaze suddenly fierce beneath her hood. She definitely wants to go today, she insists. No, he answers flatly. Why, she cries. His second job keeps him busy, the runs for the ominously named delivery eater never seem to end. And so his latest drop-off finds him at a manga cafe, standing beside the very consignee herself, the towering Wani-san. Something about her has felt strange lately. He has grown far too conscious of her every move, and a creeping unease has settled in his chest. Now the dreaded question. How is he supposed to interact with Wani-san today? Then she announces it, trembling with resolve. This is Wani-san's first time stepping into a place like this. He's stunned by how determined she suddenly seems. Why is she so full of spirit? Just moments ago she was on the verge of tears. She braces herself in the lamplight, gathering her courage to speak. She leans in close, far too close, and declares that this time, she feels like she can really do it. Her grand challenge. Asking the front desk whether they can pay by barcode. He cheers her on inside. They pulled off the barcode payment at the convenience store last time, so surely she'll be fine now. She steels herself at the entrance. "Shall we go in?" she breathes. And in they step. A bright welcome greets them at the counter. "Do you have a membership card?" the clerk asks. Wani-san freezes, eyes wide, phone clutched uselessly in her hand. An unexpected question. Not in the script. If they're new, the clerk continues kindly, "Please register for a membership." The word membership card detonates in her mind. Her eyes blow wide with pure panic. And just like that, she shrinks. The mighty Wani-san crumples down into a tiny, defeated heap. She was in a trance just a second ago, but suddenly she snaps right back to her timid, frightened self. He realizes it with dawning horror. She must have thought she could stay perfectly silent the entire time. So he steps in. "It's okay, Wani-san," he tells her gently. "I'll handle this." Mustering his own courage, he tells the clerk he'd like to register a new member. A few signatures later, it's confirmed. The hurdle is cleared. Then the clerk asks, ever so casually, whether a couple's room would be all right. Without thinking, he answers yes. "A room for two, please." Behind him, Wani-san melts into a flustered, bashful puddle. Only now does it hit him. A room for two is a couple's room. He's stunned by what just left his mouth. He scolds himself fiercely. "Don't be so conscious of it, idiot." If he gets self-conscious and fumbles like last time, it'll only make her sad. He won't allow that. He sets his mind to one mission. Just focus on making her enjoy this manga cafe, just like, he tells himself, a guardian. He'll think of himself as her guardian, watching over her like a child at play. But Wani-san wilts, apologizing. She thought she could handle it herself, and now she feels it was presumptuous of her. He rushes to reassure her. No, it's a great improvement. Her mind just went blank, that's all. The staff member leads them down the hall, thanking them, warning them to watch their step. The restroom, the clerk notes, is this way. Wani-san nods stiffly, soaking in every detail of this alien world. Wani-san turns to him, eyes shining, and whispers that he really is amazing. And then they arrive. "Ah, this is our room," she murmurs at the door. Inside waits a single screen, 2 headsets, and 2 cushions on the floor. Cozy. Very cozy. "It's smaller than you thought, isn't it?" he says, voicing exactly what's racing through both their heads. Wani-san blushes in the doorway, the tiny space suddenly feeling impossibly intimate. A frantic standoff erupts. "No, you go first." "No, you. Please, you first." Neither will cross the threshold. Then, they stammer in unison, sweating, hearts pounding, going nowhere fast. Mid-fumble, she stumbles, and suddenly he's catching her, her arms thrown around him in the cramped little room. Their faces are inches apart. His brain short-circuits, then sparks back to life with a desperate idea. "That's right," he blurts, breaking away. "I'll go get some manga." He bolts from the room, fleeing the unbearable closeness as fast as his legs will carry him. Moments later he sprints back, arms loaded with a teetering tower of volumes. He brought quite a few. He hopes she likes them, he thinks, racing for the door, the stack swaying dangerously in his grip. But the tower tips. The whole avalanche of manga comes crashing straight down toward Wani-san's head. His blood runs cold. This might injure her. Oh no. Oh no. A single volume tumbles end over end through the air. He lunges, throwing himself between her and the falling books, catching her up in his arms as they all rain down. "Are you hurt?" he cries, clutching her tight, panic written all over his face. He spirals into apologies. He's so sorry. He got carried away. He messed up. Wani-san is silent. Her face unreadable. His heart sinks like a stone, and then she laughs. A soft, helpless giggle bubbles up out of her. She laughed. He stares, dumbfounded, certain he'd ruined everything. She confesses through her giggles. She always thought he was a perfect person. He hurries to wave it off. But seeing this, she smiles warmly, it's proof that he's human too. He's flustered by the warmth in her words, the two of them blushing in the cramped little room. She rushes to clarify. It isn't that she's happy he made a mistake. She's happy for another reason entirely. For some reason, she's just happy. She leans against him, laughing softly, hee, all her fear forgotten. And he, watching her, feels a quiet warmth bloom. He's glad she's enjoying herself. The way she slipped, she teases, must have looked hilarious. No, he insists, it's not like that at all. She admits the truth. This is the first time she's interacted with a woman, no, with anyone, for this long. She's bound to make mistakes. She's not perfect at all. He pulls her close and tells her not to worry, that he's made far more mistakes than she ever could. She laughs, ahaha. They both lose their balance and tumble down onto the cushions in a tangled, breathless heap. Hearts hammering, he scrambles up. He'll go get drinks. Please do, she squeaks. Wani-san hides her burning face. This is the first time, too, that she's ever felt anything like this. And there she sits, flushed and tender, wearing the softest, most genuine smile she has ever shown him. His footsteps falter in the hallway as the weight of it all catches up to him. The very moment he decided not to be self-conscious, his composure shattered. What is he even doing, he groans. He chants it like a desperate spell. I'm a guardian. I'm a guardian. I'm a guardian. Anything to calm his pounding heart. But at the drink bar, a familiar pint-sized figure pops up, slurping a soda. Akari-san. The rival fan has found him. She blinks up at him, twin tails bobbing, with an innocent little HM. And his quiet day at the manga cafe is about to get very complicated. Their quiet routine has carried them somewhere new today, into a private booth at a manga cafe, where the Wani-san trembles over what she calls her first time with him. She fidgets in the doorway, murmuring his name, fretting that what she's looking for still isn't here. It turns out he recently took up a second part-time job delivering for a rival service called Delivery Eaters. And on that very job, he ran straight into the same delivery girl again. The tiny, Fawari-obsessed dynamo, Akari, lighting up the room like a thunderclap. His blood runs cold. If she finds out he's here with Wani-san, everything falls apart. Akari, ever the professional, scolds him for mixing work and private life and threatens to report it to management. He folds instantly, agreeing it's a scene from hell and wishing he could simply vanish on the spot. His one mission now is desperate and absolute. Akari must never learn that the Wani-san is here with him. But Akari's sharp little eyes catch a glimpse of something, and she tilts her head with a dangerous She rounds on him, demanding to know why he's even here, fangs bared in full gremlin fury. Her eyes lock onto something clutched in his hands, and the accusation builds. It's the Fawari-chan plush. She snaps that he must think she's some creepy otaku for bringing his idol plushie out in public. He scrambles to deny it, sweating bullets, stammering a frantic no. Then he turns it around entirely, praising the plush, saying its quality is so high he respects her as a fellow fan, and asks if it's handmade. Akari softens, half pleased. He's still an amateur otaku, she sniffs, but noticing the craftsmanship of her Fawari-chan plush is genuinely impressive. For one shining moment, he thinks he's dodged the disaster entirely. But, Akari leans in with a knowing grin and asks what exactly he's doing in a place like this. Inner panic erupts. He has to pretend he came here completely alone. He blurts out a question right back, asking if Akari is the one here by herself. She declares it proudly. Being solo is the correct way for a true otaku. Friends would only drain the budget she saves for her favorite person. It's her choice to be alone, she insists, a little too loudly. But her small fist clenches at her side, and the words ring hollow even to her. He watches her, and a quiet thought surfaces, the same one he once had about the Wani-san. This girl doesn't really want to be alone, does she? Softly, he tells her, yeah, alright. He'll play along. His mind drifts back down the hall. He should hurry, because the Wani-san must be feeling so lonely right now, waiting for him. As he turns to leave, Akari calls out to him with a sudden hey. As a senior Fawari-chan fan, she stammers, she could give him some tips on otaku activities, if he wants. Like recommending manga, she mumbles, or something like that. The fearsome rival, suddenly bashful. Her cheeks burn red as she gathers her courage. Clutching her plush, eyes squeezed shut, she bursts out that they've talked this much, so aren't they basically otaku friends already? The word stuns him. Otaku friends. He guesses, slowly, that it's true. It's rare, he realizes, to find someone who shares the exact same burning passion for Fawari-chan. Then Akari's gaze drops to his tray, and the trap springs shut. 2 drinks. His heart stops. Akari's eyes go wide as she demands to know if he's actually the only one here alone. No, he insists, it's not like that. He's with. And then he throws himself off the cliff entirely, declaring he's here with his imaginary Fawari-chan. Akari freezes, one flat, baffled hanging in the air. He doubles down with manic energy, explaining the second drink is a practice date for the day Fawari-chan finally comes out of the screen, which is exactly why he booked a couple's room. Even as he says it, his own soul withers. What kind of lame excuse is this, he screams inside. Akari stands rigid, trembling, struggling to process the sheer audacity of what she just heard. She begins. She believed it. Eyes shining, she gasps that he has far more potential than she ever thought. Somehow, miraculously, he slipped the noose. She decides she can't interrupt something so sacred. Relief washes over him at last. He should hurry back. Back to the Wani-san, waiting alone in the booth, his feet carrying him fast down the corridor. But the booth is empty. And then a small voice reaches him. "I'm here," it says. "I tried harder." It's the Wani-san, having crept out on her own to find him, offering to carry the drinks, announcing she's come to pick him up. His face lights up with pure joy. She did it. She made it all the way here entirely by herself. She ducks her hooded head, whispering her thanks, saying it's all because of him. If she keeps trying, she dares to hope, maybe even someone like her might get a little closer to him. Because, she admits, she's realized that he's human too. Not some distant figure to fear, but a person she can reach. Her eyes brim, bright and warm, with something close to happiness. She calls out to him again, flushed, her courage still flickering but alive. But just down the hall, another voice answers. "Oni-san." Akari has wandered close. Akari beams up at him, declaring he's quite the guy, that he truly deserves to be her otaku friend, while behind them the Wani-san goes very, very still. The Wani-san's feet shuffle backward, retreating into the shadows. She presses herself against the wall, hands clasped tight, watching the two fans laugh together. It was too easy for Akari, she thinks. The girl became his friend just like that. And someday, the Wani-san wishes, she'd like to go out, or talk to other people too. But the old fear seizes her. "I can't," she whispers. "I'll only get in the way." Overwhelmed, she slumps against the booth table, spent from a courage that cost her everything. But she finds him beside her, smiling gently, reminding her it's okay to take it one step at a time. Even if she's not perfect, he tells her, that's perfectly fine. Tears spill down her cheeks as she confesses she isn't even close to being a normal person. And he stays, accepting every part of her anyway. Later, the day done, he returns to the booth, drink in hand, announcing he's back, Wani-san. But she's gone. In her place, a fan of bills and a small note. "Thank you very much for today." He stares, bewildered, And there, beside a darkened PC and a waiting headset, a familiar shape lingers, a quiet clue that the truth he suspects is closer than ever. Time slips by quietly, one delivery after another. But lately, something gnaws at him. The scary Wani-san who used to order lunchboxes from him every single day has gone completely silent. He spirals. Was he too obvious? Was it weird that he started thinking of himself like her guardian? Does she hate him now? What on earth did he do wrong? He pedals through the quiet town, the worry sitting heavy on his chest. He tries to reassure himself. She wouldn't just vanish over something that small. No. That can't be it. If she simply stopped relying on his delivery service, maybe his job here was done. As long as she could manage life on her own, that should be enough, right? But a darker thought creeps in. What if something happened to her, all alone in that house? He can't take it anymore. He races toward her home, heart pounding. He throws himself at her door and shouts that he's here. And the moment the words leave his mouth, the absurdity hits him. He has no appointment. No delivery to make. He realizes, in horror, that he looks exactly like a stalker. His whole face goes pale with panic. But he steadies himself. He's already made up his mind. He is going to see her. From behind the door, a tiny, trembling voice answers. Yes. He scrambles for an excuse, clutching at the one thing he can justify. He still has all that money she overpaid him at the Manga cafe, way too much of it. He needs to return it. That's his reason. He presses the doorbell, and inside, everything goes silent. Then, a sudden, violent crash from within. Wani-san. He freezes, alarmed. What was that noise? A muffled shriek answers him through the door, and a shadow stumbles in the dark. And then the door swings open. There she stands, towering and half-dressed, her face a mess of nerves. The sight short-circuits his brain completely. She blurts out a panicked apology. She didn't have his contact details, so she had no choice but to show up unannounced like this. He stammers about the money from the Manga cafe, that he came to give it back, anything to explain himself. He stops mid-sentence, something catching his eye. On the floor behind her, dark stains. Is that blood? Wani-san, that's, he starts, and she crumbles, trying to wave it off. She collapses into tears right in front of him, sobbing uncontrollably. Through the crying, she chokes out the truth. She just wanted to be normal. He doesn't understand. Normal. Then he sees the kitchen. A battlefield of dirty pots and bowls, every dish caked and ruined. Slowly, the picture comes together in his mind. She explains, ashamed. She felt she needed to become a normal person. So she even tried cooking for herself. But she couldn't do it at all. And then, she confesses, there was one more disaster. The sauce exploded. He gawks. The sauce exploded, relief and disbelief wash over him. So the blood on the floor wasn't blood at all, just sauce. She keeps going. And then, while she was scrambling to clean it all up, that was exactly when he showed up at her door. Caught off guard, she had to throw on something to wear in a panicked rush. And in the end, she panicked so hard she grabbed a futon. He stares. Why on earth would she choose a futon? Then her voice softens, and the real apology comes. She's sorry for disappearing on him so suddenly last time. She was so embarrassed about not being able to do the things other people do. She panicked, her head started spinning, and she messed everything up so badly. So she ran away. The confession spills out of her in a flood. Being with him was so much fun, and he was so kind to her, even though she felt she should have tried harder. She cries that she ended up relying on him far too much. And then she says the cruelest thing of all about herself. In the end, she's just trash. She insists she has to become a normal person too. She lists everything she's chasing. She wants to be able to cook food. She wants to be able to talk to salesmen. And, voice breaking, she wants to make friends. For a flicker, his mind drifts to Akari, the tiny rival fan who once told him he deserved to be something more. But he pushes the thought aside, because the Wani-san reveals the true fear beneath it all. If she doesn't become normal, then someday he'll leave her too. The words land hard. He stands there, frozen before her. His thoughts race. How should he console her? What is he even supposed to say? The easy answer rises up automatically. Let's take small steps and fix it. That's what they always do, right? Like always, he tells himself, he just has to cheer her up. But right now, something stops him, because he sees it. She's trying too hard to smile and be normal, forcing the same brave face she always does. And it stirs a memory, of a streamer fighting to keep smiling through the hard times. A cheerful mask over something hurting underneath. Something in him hardens with resolve. That's right, he decides. It doesn't matter what he says. The careful, safe words won't reach her. So he bows his head and apologizes, an apology that surprises even her. He won't lie to make her feel better. He doesn't care about that. She blinks, thrown by his sudden intensity. He takes her face gently in his hands and tells her, no, that's not it. Her whole plan, becoming normal, has it backwards. This time he won't hide behind safe words. He needs to say what he really feels. It doesn't matter if she's normal or not. None of that matters. It doesn't matter if she's the same as everyone else. What he wants, he tells her, is for her to be happy. He thinks everything about her is wonderful. Even if there are things she can't do, it's completely okay. And then he says it, holding her face, eyes steady. I love you. Just the way you are. For a long, breathless moment, neither of them moves. Then his own words catch up to him and he flushes scarlet, scrambling to clarify. He means as a customer. When he says love, he doesn't mean it in some romantic, creepy way. Sorry, but the important part still stands. He loves her just the way she is. She stares at him, stunned silent, her eyes wet and wide. His nerve gives out and he panics, blurting that it was probably way too cringe. Why yeah, she manages weakly, I guess so. Then, quietly, she gathers her courage. She asks him to come into one particular room. Hey, Oniai-san. Her hand reaches for the light switch. She wants him to see the real her. The room lights up. A streaming setup. Microphones, monitors, a webcam, and her standing in the middle of it all. And there on the screen, a familiar face smiles back. The pastel pink hair, the gentle eyes, his beloved VTuber. His heart stops. Fawari-chan's streaming screen. Wait, is this? She lowers her eyes, cheeks burning, and finally confesses the secret she's guarded all along. I do this kind of work. The scary Wani-san is Fawari-chan. It all started when a socially anxious delivery boy took a part-time job carrying meals across his tiny countryside town, and the customer he kept delivering to, the towering, terrifying Wani-san, turns out to be the real person behind his most beloved VTuber. The suspicion he never dared confirm finally breaks open. The Wani-san is Fawari-chan. Her voice always sounded so familiar. He told himself it couldn't possibly be true. But now he can't deny it. She leans in close, barely able to get the word out. Far too close. His heart hammers as her face hovers inches from his. She has decided. If she is going to show him her true self, she refuses to keep any secrets from him. She overheard him fanboying about Fawari to the rival delivery girl, Akari. She already knew he loved her other self. She always thought she would have to tell him someday, hidden away under her blankets, dreading the moment. And he, meanwhile, is spiraling. Did he really gush about his favorite VTuber right to her actual face? Trembling, she reminds him of something. He said it himself. He said he liked her. Her eyes go wide and watery, her pulse thudding loud enough to hear. And he, panicking, blurts it out at full volume. He likes her, he insists, as a fan. But the second the words leave him, the gears in his head grind to a halt. Hold on. If she truly is the person behind Fawari-chan, then getting this close to his favorite VTuber's real self, isn't that a crime against the otaku code? His brain screams that he's burning in hell. He scrambles to defend himself. She gave him money through a perfectly legitimate method, he reasons. She reaches out, fingers shaking, trying to hold on to him as she stammers that there's something more. His mind races on. Was he profiting off Fawari-chan? Even being her customer feels like a gray area now. And then she suddenly bows down low, apologizing with everything she has. He flinches, utterly bewildered. In her mind, intruding into her favorite fan's life like this makes her a failure as a fan herself. She tells herself she should keep her distance, even though all she truly wants is to help him. He begs her, softly, to please lift her head and look up at him. And so she begins to bare her heart. She asks if he remembers when she told him she used to be a voice actor. Her confession spills out. She has always been big, towering over everyone around her, for as long as she can remember. The story rewinds to her childhood. A tall, lonely girl walking home, whispers trailing behind her. Her voice was strangely high for her size, the other kid said. She looked like she didn't belong in middle school at all. When she was younger, being big never bothered her one bit. But as she grew, she started agonizing over how people looked at her. Slowly, she stopped being able to meet anyone's eyes. Her school days drained of all color, until everything went completely gray. Curled up in bed, she couldn't make herself go. She didn't want to face school anymore. Then, one quiet day at home, she noticed her older sister's laptop sitting open. Hesitant fingers reached toward the keys. On the screen, an app invites her to speak freely in the open sky, to let her voice be heard. A way to connect with people through voice and chat alone, without ever having to show herself. Heart pounding, she works up the nerve and finally speaks into the microphone. And the responses come flooding back. Nice voice. Cute. You're the best. I like you. Praise she never imagined hearing. She could hardly believe it. These people, they actually accepted her. And a dark thought surfaces with her smile. They accept her precisely because they can't see her. Then someone online told her something that changed everything. They thought she'd make a good voice actor. A voice actor. The words took root inside her like a seed of hope. It was a path where she could be accepted, all without ever having to show her face. Clutching the script, she dared to dream. As a voice actor, maybe her life could finally begin again. Maybe she could start her life over, just like everyone else. So she enrolled in a voice actor academy. There she stood among other hopefuls, script in hand, daring to reach for something real. And against every fear she carried, she made it through the final audition. Her hard work had paid off. She was so close to joining the agency, so close to landing a real role. She held that script to her chest, eyes shining, the happiest she had ever been. But happiness, for her, never lasts. Behind her back, the whispers started again. That tall girl, huh? She must be pulling strings with the producers, they sneered. She acts so timid, yet somehow she keeps getting the jobs. She's big, but plays it shy, they mocked, which only makes her look cute. Cruel words sharpened into knives. She heard every word. And the gray began creeping back into her world. Especially since she's so tall, they laughed. She must be sleeping her way up. No social skills, yet still landing roles. Alone in the corridor, the tears finally fell, and the dream she'd held so tightly crumbled in her hands. She sank down against a door, small and broken in a place that was supposed to save her. And once again, she ran away. Just like always, she ended up having a complete breakdown. reality became too much to bear. And that, she says, is how it all fell apart. But here, on the other side of a screen, everyone accepted her. Voices reminding her that voice acting can be done. That they love her voice. And so she pressed start streaming, and a new self was born, Haini Fawari. Starting out as Haini Fawari was, in her own words, a way to escape. Thanks to the people who supported her back then, she was finally able to believe that even her empty life was worth living. Through that connection, she found she could keep moving forward, one small step at a time. And then, finding out that he was one of those very people who saved her, it made her so impossibly happy. She bows her head, smiling through it all, and tells him, with her whole heart, "Thank you very much." She admits she keeps causing him trouble, and that she still carries lingering regrets about her school days and that time. But what she wants now isn't to apologize, and it isn't to disappear. What she wants is something more. She takes his hand and thanks him from the bottom of her heart, for being his Fawari-chan. He sits there, stunned by the weight of everything she's just trusted him with, and now it's his turn. He confesses that he didn't go to school in high school either. She gapes at him. The perfect, put-together image she had of him shatters in an instant. He really wasn't. But it was thanks to Fawari-chan's emotional support, he tells her, that he found the strength to keep going. Now he's in college, driving deliveries to fund his super chats. He wants to repay her, he says, gripping his hands together with resolve. He will never push her away just because she happens to be his favorite VTuber. If she's okay with it, he says, gathering his courage for what comes next. Would she like to start over together? The question lands with everything he has. Start over, he explains, like setting new goals side by side. Things you can't do alone might become possible with two people. If she has regrets about her school days, maybe they could do student-like things together. Like experiencing youth together, he says, somewhere between embarrassed and earnest. They can relive their youth together, he declares, gripping her hand tight. Yeah, youth. Then his confidence wobbles, and he sheepishly asks if maybe that was all just too cringy. And quietly, from beneath her bangs, she answers that it isn't cringy at all. Overcome, she throws her arms around him and pulls him into a crushing embrace. She's so happy, she sobs against him, tears spilling free. And his face goes scarlet, the moment crashing over him all at once. She's way too close, his panicking brain howls, all over again. The breath gets squeezed clean out of him in her overwhelming hug. She murmurs into him that she's so glad, so deeply, truly glad. She admits she was certain that once he found out who she really was, he would pull away and keep his distance. Instead, beaming through her tears, she thanks him for accepting her, from now on and forever. And just as the moment swells toward the perfect ending, his strangled voice cuts in. The distance. He nearly got crushed to death, he wheezes, and just like that, the heartfelt scene snaps right back into comedy. Now that they've vowed to relive their lost youth together, the delivery boy finds himself crammed onto a tiny balcony, pressed far too close to the towering Wani-san for comfort. They're supposed to be holding a meeting about what to do for their youth. So why exactly are they standing side by side out on the balcony? Her logic is simple. Since they're already on the balcony, they might as well gaze out at the view while they talk. He agrees, a little uncertain, as she steps outside in her slippers. And then, the instant sunlight touches her, she begins to melt. The shut-in Wani-san is dissolving into a puddle before his eyes. Simply being in the sunlight is too much for her. It's been so long since she was raised out in the open air. Even the balcony counts as outside, she realizes, a melted heap. She wanted to be motivated and chose to come outdoors today. She was so happy he suggested redoing their youth. She insists it's just bright, she's not scared of sunlight, really. As long as she stays in the shade, she can survive. She'll be fine. Armed with a parasol for shade, she has finally calmed down, while he slumps over the railing, already exhausted. She offers him coffee, ever the gracious host, and he remembers he's actually here on a delivery order. He watches her sip a giant strawberry milk, straight out of a cartoon, the picture of childlike innocence. A strategy meeting, then. He sips his black coffee and braces himself for the real task at hand. Youth. He hesitates over the word, unsure where to even begin. He confesses the truth. He's not really sure what youth even means, because he's never experienced it himself. She admits the same. Even though she said they should relive their youth, she hasn't decided what she's actually going to do. So what does he think youth even is? Youth is something she's always vaguely longed for, she admits, though she doesn't really know what it is. He agrees she's right to wonder. But she has a plan. She's studied up on youth by watching anime, so there's nothing to worry about. Her first idea, sneaking into the school pool at night, the kind of forbidden adventure she's seen 100 times. He admits that yes, that's something you often see in anime. He's not entirely wrong. And there's more, she leans in, eyes gleaming with anime-fueled fantasies, hiding together in a cramped locker, holding their breath. Another classic rom-com scenario, he thinks, already dreading where this is going. That's when the two of them start feeling each other's breath, she explains dreamily. He stares, very gently asking if she's okay. Your heart starts racing, she narrates, lost in a daydream where she's pinned against him in the dark. He snaps, demanding to know if she's fantasizing again. She lets out a mortified scream, the daydream shattering around her. He puts his foot down. If they did any of that now, it'd be a crime. Let's avoid things that require breaking into a school. She concedes, flustered, that yeah, he's right. They settle down, both a little embarrassed. She brightens with another idea, something he used to do as a student. Club activities, maybe. His answer, the go-home club. Hers too. A beat of silence, a cheeky little the end, as if this is where their youth quietly flatlines. Of course, it isn't over. The mood sinks as they realize neither of them has a single real school memory to draw from. She frets that she should have studied more about youth, deflating in front of him. He scrambles to take the blame, insisting he's the one who brought up this overly philosophical question of what youth is. No, he says, he should be the one apologizing. She quietly explains her real fear. She was worried that her idea of youth might be different from everyone else's. She didn't think it would be right to force him to go along with her boring version of youth. So she tried to study up on it, but, he looks at her, something shifting in his expression as he understands what she's really afraid of. He turns toward the open air and changes the subject. The breeze feels nice, doesn't it? She blinks beneath her parasol, caught off guard by the gentle question. He admits something of his own. He's always liked the wind coming through the classroom windows. He used to wish he could share that feeling with friends. The word lingers in her eyes. Windows. A small, ordinary longing she understands completely. Something clicks. His eyes widen as an idea takes shape. He offers a new direction. Instead of worrying about society's idea of youth, why don't they just talk about the things they each wanted to do back then? She murmurs that this feels a little different, somehow, a fragile hope flickering in her eyes. She goes first. She'd like to eat ice cream. She could never stop for ice cream on her way home, she confesses, because she was always too shy. He gets that completely, he says, he walked to school too. She admits she always wanted to try commuting by train instead of riding her bike. She wishes she'd had lunch with friends, she says softly, the smallest dream carrying the heaviest weight. Or bought matching little trinkets with them, the kind of silly token of friendship she never got to share. Or just gone somewhere far away for no reason at all. The two of them light up, grinning at each other as their lost wishes spill out. Even the smallest things, the little things they each wanted to do back then. And it dawns on him, talking about them like this, maybe this is the kind of thing he wanted to experience all along. He smiles, cheeks flushed, and says it feels like they're already living out their youth, doesn't it? Her face flushes deep, eyes shining, as she breathes out the words. This is youth, isn't it? Youth, he agrees with a soft grin. Let's just find their own version of it, together. Then she has a thought. Everything they've been talking about, it could all be solved if they went on a trip, right? He blinks, then realizes she's absolutely right. A trip could cover all of it, but her courage falters, her face dropping into shadow as the weight of her own suggestion lands. She clarifies, blushing furiously. She means like a school trip, with him. Then she panics, waving her hands. Obviously not right now, she can't even leave the house yet. But, she trails off, unable to let the idea go entirely. She lays out the dream. Ice cream, riding a train, all that stuff she never got to do back then. If it's a school trip, they could do every bit of it, couldn't they? Then her nerve cracks. Staying overnight, though, that'd be a lot, wouldn't it? Overnight, he repeats, the word slowly registering. Overnight? It hits him all at once, his face freezing in shock. It's not that she dislikes the idea, she stammers, hiding behind her parasol. But, and then he commits. Let's do it, he declares, fists clenched, while little hearts float around her stunned, delighted face. He scrambles to clarify through nervous sweat. All right, well, someday they'll have to. He throws himself fully in, declaring he'll prepare the trip itinerary too, while she fumbles to handle picking the dates. She fixes him with a sly, melting look, phone in hand. He just said let's do it, didn't he? He goes pale. Her eyes are dead serious, and he knows there's no taking it back. A nervous hush settles over the balcony as they both feel the weight of the promise they've just made. For now, though, they decide to just call it a goal. He's committed to it now, and somewhere behind him, the once terrifying Wani-san is smiling, one impossible step closer to the outside world. Back on the clock at Delivery Eater, it's a perfectly normal day, until a familiar shadow falls over him. There she is. The Wani-san, brooding and tense, radiating menace that would terrify anyone who doesn't know the truth. But he does know the truth now. So he steps up and gently asks if something is wrong. She explains they had decided to set their goals a little too high, like that planned school trip together. And then, haltingly, she admits the real thing weighing on her. She is being asked to consult for a brand new VTuber. The boy nearly falls off his bike. Her old teacher from voice acting school reached out, hoping she'd mentor someone about to debut. Trembling, she pulls out her phone. This is the message the newcomer sent her, she says. She asks if it's okay for him to look. The instant he sees the account, he freezes, a direct message sent to Fawari-chan herself. And what a message! A rookie VTuber named Mizumelody, flooding her with peak cuteness, demanding a reply, and offering to let her touch her boobs as a last resort. The boy's brain short-circuits. That, he thinks, is absolutely terrifying. The Wani-san timidly thanks him for his time. To him, this whole thing reads like some shady solicitation scam. He imagines what his otaku friend Akari would say if she saw this. She'd lose her temper instantly. What even is this suspicious woman, he wonders. The Wani-san sips her drink, hesitating, working up to something. Then she declares it. She is going to meet this person. She wants to help if she can, since her old teacher has done so much for her. He can only gape, she's actually going. And besides, she adds, there's another reason. She wants to go on that school trip with him someday. So first she has to get better at talking to people. She is serious about this, he realizes. Dead serious. Even though she's a little scared, she says, she still wants to go through with it. Sweating, eyes shut, she steels herself and starts walking away. Then her hand shoots out and seizes his wrist in an iron grip. Face flushed and pleading, she begs him, could he please come with her? His resolve crumbles in an instant. He'll go, he blurts, as she drags him off. Beaming, she tries to shove money at him again, thanking him profusely and offering to pay for his trouble. He waves it off, this time framing it as payback for the coffee she gave him before. Consider it coffee money, he insists. But privately, he frets. This DM really does look sketchy, even if it came through her teacher. She could end up having a bad experience out there. He can't shake the worry. He resolves it then. He can't let her go alone. He'll come as her manager, no, as something more. As her bodyguard. Sunglasses on, fists clenched, he strikes a pose of total commitment. The meeting place turns out to be a deserted neighborhood park, swings creaking in the dark. A park, at night? He can hardly believe the venue. She admits she suggested it herself, because meeting at a cafe felt like too much. That's what she's worried about, he realizes. Being all nervous and fidgety in a cafe would feel creepy to her. His mind drifts to the looming question. Mizumelody. What kind of person actually is she? A small figure approaches in the gloom and calls out to him, Oniai-san. He asks if she's okay, only to find the Wani-san crouched on the ground, cap pulled low, whimpering that her heart isn't ready. She'll calm down here for a bit before going out, she insists, hiding behind him. Where are you even hiding? He despairs. He grits his teeth. This is bad. He needs to step up and handle this himself. Then he turns to greet the newcomer, and his expression goes blank. Ha! A bubbly, doll-faced girl leans in close, eyes sparkling, and asks point-blank, are you Fawari-chan? This is the person. She's here, he realizes, pulse spiking. Cheerful and forward, she sizes him up and guesses he must be Fawari-chan's manager. She leans in even closer, far too close, asking whether Fawari really won't show her face. Then she nods sagely, deciding her own dazzling selfies must have overwhelmed Fawari, since most girls freak out at how cute Mizumuro is. She bursts into a booming, gremlin-like laugh that does not match her adorable face at all. The boy's jaw drops. Wah! This person, he thinks, is kind of, what is even going on with her? She squints at him next, demanding to know if he's a middle schooler, since he looks way too young to be a manager. He fires back that he's a college student. Meanwhile the Wani-san looms in the background, a hooded pillar of dread, vibrating with terror she can barely contain. Beneath the cap, a single tear rolls down her frozen face. Mizumuro, oblivious, just grins her goofy fanged grin, but the Wani-san's mind is screaming. Drenched in cold sweat, she is convinced she is absolutely going to die. The moon hangs over the quiet town as the boy braces to do the introductions himself. Anyway, he announces, "This is Hanaida Fuwari-san." Mizumuro instantly softens her cocky tone, apologizing, introducing herself properly as Mizum. The boy marvels at how fast she changed gears. And the Wani-san is completely frozen with fear, her face a rictus of panic under the hood. She forces out a strangled greeting. Mizum gasps that she didn't realize Fuwari-chan was such a cool, good-looking Wani-san. Mizum showers her with compliments, calling her pretty and stylish, breezily noting VTubers are always pretty in real life, and thanking her for coming. Then she gets to the heart of it. As they might already know, she explains, she wants to become a VTuber. She's a fan of Fuwari-chan, she gushes, inspired by her, and there's something she's been wanting to ask. She just knew it had to be Fuwari, so cute, such a great voice, brimming with energy. So, she begins, gathering her nerve. In short, she says, while the boy waits and the Wani-san sweats. Would it be okay, she pleads, if Fuwari gave Meloni a little consulting? Both the Wani-san and the boy go wide-eyed, stunned by the request. Even though she's skilled enough to make a selfie account go viral, she explains, as a VTuber she's still a total rookie. She's made an account, she admits, but it isn't active yet. She figured Fuwari would be happy to teach someone cute like Meloni. The boy's eyes narrow. So this consultation is about. Hold on a second, he stammers. She wants to discuss things over calls, collaborate, message back and forth online. Basically, Mizum beams, Fuwari will get the right to talk to Meloni. Doesn't that make her happy? The right to talk, the boy echoes, baffled. He turns nervously to the Wani-san. What is she going to do? She is utterly speechless, sweating, mouth working but no words coming out. Then Mizum's bravado cracks. To be honest, she confesses, her VTuber account isn't growing at all on its own, and she yelps an apology for sounding so arrogant. So at the very least, she pleads, head spinning, could they at least start by exchanging line contacts? The Wani-san's trembling hand clenches. Then, suddenly, she lands on an idea. If you talk to me, she starts, voice shaking, the boy bracing for whatever comes next. Then you can touch my boobs, okay? She blurts, lunging forward in a panic. The exact same disastrous line from the DM, now thrown right back. Dead silence falls over the park. The boy stands there, soul leaving his body. A hellish space filled with two equally socially awkward people has just been born, both of them shrieking in mutual mortification. Calming down, Meloni sighs that she's always like this, blurting unnecessary things and ending up disliked. They've run out of tissues, she mutters. The Wani-san quietly hands over an empty box anyway. Thanks, Meloni murmurs. When her selfie account flamed out for saying the wrong things, Meloni admits, she brushed it off as jealousy from ugly people, telling herself they just envied cute Meloni. But, she says quietly, they were right. She knows it herself, she confesses. She was obsessed with her appearance and had no substance underneath. The more aware she became of it, the more she clung to the idea that all she had was her looks, until it became unbearable. So she thought she could change, if she became a VTuber and relied solely on her personality. She thought she could finally become the kind of person she actually liked. And maybe, she says, tears welling, she could make real friends. The Wani-san listens, and in those words she hears the echo of her own buried wish. She just wanted friends. The boy echoes softly, the truth of this loud, ridiculous girl settling in. Meloni apologizes for pushing them so hard about exchanging contacts and everything. Was it really that bad, she frets. No, the Wani-san says quietly. Meloni blinks, confused. Ha! Standing tall in the moonlight, the Wani-san finds her voice. I'll exchange contacts, she says. Me too, she tells the smaller girl. I know what it's like to have no friends. Even if they can't be friends right away, she offers, they can at least exchange line. The boy stares in quiet awe. The Wani-san is talking, reaching out to a stranger all on her own. Then, of course, she ruins the moment, sighing that she supposes she has no choice and asking if Meloni really wanted to touch her boobs that badly. Meloni, dazed, just thanks her. Hell, the boy groans, as the two awkward disasters dissolve into flustered chaos again. Contacts exchanged, Meloni bounces off into the night, genuinely thrilled. She seemed really happy, the boy notes under the moon. He muses that he didn't think someone could be that happy just to get a contact. Yeah, the Wani-san agrees softly. He turns to her with a bright, sincere grin. Meloni was so happy, he tells her, because Fuwari faced her honestly. The Wani-san looks away, fiddling with her phone, and quietly admits the rest. It was because he was with her. She couldn't have come here in the first place, she says, if he hadn't been there. She thought she could do her best precisely because he was beside her. Everything happened because he was there. Wani-san, he breathes, struck by how earnestly she means it. She wonders aloud, almost shyly, whether he helped her even a little. He didn't do much, she insists, but still. Then she declares, with total conviction, that Oni-san's power is amazing. Power, he repeats, completely thrown. Wait, he panics internally, am I being turned into some kind of deity here? She nuzzles close, blissful and grateful, thanking him for his power while he fends her off in vain. And so, against every odd, the Wani-san managed to talk to someone new tonight. One more small, impossible step taken, together. Another day, another stack of orders to carry across town. And on this particular street, there is a suspicious person. A huge Wani-san, blushing furiously, muttering fuwapi under her breath as she paces and sighs. She spots him and freezes, then calls out to him as Manager Kun, while he gasps her name in alarm. She admits she was just wandering, hoping he might guide her somewhere, since a certain fuwapi house happens to be around here. Still reading her as suspicious, he carefully asks whether she actually wants to go meet the Wani-san. After all, the two of them are kind of close now, aren't they? She nods, a little shyly. She is all business, rattling off a streaming equipment website and asking him about the gear she needs. He marvels at how much the Wani-san has been interacting with this woman, and how amazing she is for working so hard at her streaming. She beams at him, pleased with herself, while he blinks in mild confusion. Praising him as expected of Manager Kun, she decides she will ask the Wani-san if she can bring him along to her house. She explains the Wani-san wants to get closer to this woman, so it should be fine if he tags along. If he is there, everything is fine. With a triumphant fuwapi, she declares she has come to pick him up, while he stands stunned in a doorway. She gushes that this woman has lots of cute clothes and is super fun, and that her house is spacious because she makes good money as an influencer. But when they arrive, the Wani-san looks totally confused, stammering in alarm. It turns out there was never any appointment at all. The little delivery girl just showed up uninvited. The Wani-san confesses her online replies were so dry she assumed she would never get to meet this woman again. So she begins bowing desperately, begging her to teach her, explaining the equipment arrived but she could not figure out the settings. She even offers to bare her chest, or pay for a taxi, anything at all, while the Wani-san begs her to stop offering like it is candy. The Wani-san goes quiet, sweat beading, weighing the whole absurd situation. Finally she relents. If Oni-san comes along too, then she will go. He stammers that he is okay with that, but the situation is spiraling fast. The little delivery girl just tilts her head, delighted, and off they go. She throws open the door to her place, welcoming them to her castle, a room buried in tangled cables and gear. She admits she struggled with it all alone and had no idea what she was doing. First, they untangle the wires. The little delivery girl chews on a snack, watching the two of them work side by side. He scratches his head and asks the influencer if there is maybe a manual, or something to follow. And then she steps into frame, this dark-haired influencer in a cat ear-made costume, bearing far too much for a streaming session. Their eyes meet. He breaks into a panicked sweat, a strangled gasp catching in his throat. She poses with a little pack, and the Wani-san reels back demanding to know what on earth this is. The influencer explains it is a spell. She apologizes for looking so revealing, insisting she is a maid for her master only. She fawns over how lucky her master is, to be served by such a cute maid, all but glowing with rehearsed charm. But her own self-esteem cannot keep up with the role. Her voice cracks, apologizing for being a monster maid, not even 1 micron cute. The Wani-san can only ask, flatly, why she is dressed like that. Then, mid-explanation, her foot catches a cable. She slips, and she comes crashing straight down onto him, far too close, a tangle of frills and panic. He flails, soaked in cold sweat, frantically calling for the Wani-san to help. The Wani-san barks at the influencer to at least get up before she keeps talking. A horrible suspicion dawns on him. Wait. Isn't this the little delivery girl's doing? His thoughts spiral. If this helps the two of them get along better, that is a good thing, but did they team up to prank him? But still, something about it sits wrong with him. The influencer, still sprawled close, whispers that she will serve him. His mind whites out entirely, eyes swirling, brain short-circuiting at the contact. And there is the culprit. The little delivery girl, phone in hand, coaching her to put more emotion into it and seduce him sexily. Caught red-handed, she yelps that she has been found out, and he groans her name. A single enormous sorry bursts across the page. She confesses everything. She only dragged the influencer into the maid getup because she found a costume from her own selfie account, and was giving her directions. It seemed like the Wani-san wanted to get along better with Manager Kun. So the little delivery girl thought she could help make that happen, eyes welling up with earnest tears. She still thinks of him only as her manager, after all. The Wani-san, flustered, insists that no, she is the one who should apologize for yelling so loudly. He silently realizes that must have been unpleasant for the Wani-san. He never meant to shout like that. The influencer goes quiet, gaze lowered, the air heavy with awkwardness. Then she breaks it, announcing she will go change out of the costume. But she immediately seizes the little delivery girl, pleading with her to help with the change, who meekly agrees. Left alone, he stares into the middle distance, turning the whole mess over in his mind. When they return, they finally power on the rig. And it works. Done, the influencer cheers, the little delivery girl bouncing beside her. It syncs with the avatar. The two of them throw their fists up, crying out that it is amazing. The influencer thanks him profusely, praising the Wani-san as so efficient, exactly as expected of a streamer. But still, he broods. He made the atmosphere awkward because of his own actions. He turns to the influencer to say something about earlier, but she speaks first. She thanks him for telling her the truth. That costume act, she admits, was not like her. He startles, wide-eyed, not expecting gratitude at all. Why, he asks, would she thank him for that? Because, she explains, it is not just about accepting everything. It is about pointing out what is wrong when it is wrong. It made her feel like he was really looking at her, properly facing her, and that made her happy. He fumbles, trying to say that was not quite what he meant, not properly. He admits it is nice that the Wani-san and this woman were talking without him even knowing, but he felt glad about it, and yet, somehow, a little conflicted too. And then, he blurts, he got confused and emotional all on his own. The influencer leans in with a sly little grin. Does that mean, she asks, he was jealous? The word lands like a thunderbolt. He goes scarlet, sweating, mouth hanging open as she cups his cheek. And the Wani-san, watching from across the room, flushes a deep, conflicted red of her own. The Wani-san cuts in, sharply suggesting they should head back now. The influencer agrees, hiding a knowing little smile behind her hand. The two girls press close, cheeks blushing, the whole mess somehow softening into warmth. The influencer offers up the taxi fare, cheerfully declaring that in the end everything turned out fine, didn't it? But the Wani-san, with a flat, deadpan grin, refuses. No, she is fine. The little delivery girl peeks up, worried, asking if she is still mad. The Wani-san hurriedly insists that is not it. She turns to him with a hesitant Oni-san, gathering her nerve for something. And then, blushing, she makes her quiet little proposal. How about, instead of a taxi, the two of them take the train back together? Around that time, the Wani-san hatches a daring little scheme. Today is April Fool's Day, and she resolves to surprise her delivery boy with a perfectly innocent lie. She rehearses it in her head. Maybe she'll casually announce that she, too, has become a delivery person for delivery eaters. But mid-fantasy, a terrible realization dawns on her. If she really did, then he would have no more reason to deliver food to her ever again. And what if he takes the joke seriously? What if he thinks she's a liar, stops the deliveries, and ends up disappointed in her? The spiral consumes her. More than that, she agonizes, is it even okay to lie to such a kind Oni-san at all? A prank has never felt so morally impossible. 1 week later, he arrives with another delivery, cheerful as ever. But she's already in tears, blurting out a frantic apology before he can even finish his greeting. She overthought it so hard that she couldn't pull off a single April Fool's prank. He just stares, baffled, while she begs him not to look at her like that. Meanwhile, in her hidden streaming room, Fuwari-chan signs off another broadcast with a cheerful good work, everyone. Today's stream ran longer than usual, and she finally slumps back, exhausted but satisfied. Yet she can't rest just yet. There's still her usual routine to keep up, the private little ritual she refuses to skip. Something she's been working on for ages is almost complete at last. It is a tiny handmade plushie of her Oni-san, stitched lovingly down to his little uniform. She frets over it like a devoted fan. The outfit details feel a bit lacking, she decides. Her Oni-san's design deserves so much more. Since she's come this far already, she figures, she may as well go all the way with him. Blushing furiously, she cradles the little doll and decides to try something bold, a sleeping together ASMR session, just the two of them. In her sultriest Wani-san voice, she whispers a goodnight to the plushie pressed against her cheek. And so, far from any stream, she keeps up her usual Oshi routine, giggling into the night over a doll-sized version of the boy she adores. Around that time, the Wani-san stumbles onto a dangerous piece of internet trivia. The ideal height difference for the perfect hug and kiss is 15 centimeters. Her mind immediately drifts to the gap between herself and her Oni-san. Would her partner even care about something like the difference in their heights? The question lodges itself deep in her chest. She has to find out somehow. Maybe, just maybe, if she measured it, she desperately wants to know. When he next arrives, she freezes, the scheme already burning in her eyes. Stammering, she invents a pretext. Could her dear Oni-san possibly help her change a light bulb? He happily agrees, no problem at all, even as she admits she doesn't really know how it's done. He climbs onto a stool, and she sidles up close behind him, heart pounding. 15 centimeters. The exact, fateful number rings out in her head like a thunderclap. He turns, confused, and she nearly lets the truth slip out loud. Maybe, she dares to think, if it's only this much of a gap, then she really can do it. Does that perfect 15 centimeters truly make hugging and kissing him easier? She loses herself completely in the fantasy. He catches only fragments of her mumbling, blinking in total bewilderment as a storm of question marks swirls around him. In the end, she still couldn't confirm a thing, and waves it all off in a panic, while he wonders if she was just saying it's easier to change bulbs this way. Meanwhile, Fuwari-chan goes live for another stream, the words now streaming glowing on her screen. In the top chat, a familiar name flickers by. She's quietly convinced this particular account belongs to her Oni-san. She can't help but follow that one person's comments above all the others. Somehow, the messages all feel like him. Then the chat lights up. The account she believes is his casually mentions leaving to take a bath. Flustered, she hurriedly wraps the broadcast, thanking everyone and ending the stream then and there. Now is her chance. She bolts from her chair toward the bath. A delirious thought seizes her. If she gets in now, wouldn't it be just like the two of them bathing together? Surely that's an exaggeration, right? She slips a single toe into the water, whispering a bashful apology for the trouble. Clutching the little Oni-san plushie, she sinks in, blushing at the delusion that she's taking a bath with him. She muses that her Oni-san has a great figure, then catches herself. This doll's hands really do feel like a man's. She tells herself she should climb out soon, but stays put, savoring the fantasy that they're sharing the same bath time together. Steam rises around her as she lingers far too long, flushed and dizzy and utterly content. Finally she goes lightheaded, both her and her tiny companion insisting on just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Around that time, Fuwari-chan collapses over her keyboard after another marathon stream, drained to the bone. She realizes she didn't eat a thing the whole broadcast, so she places a large order from delivery eaters to make up for it. She reassures herself it's fine, whoever brings it won't see her devour it all directly. Surely it'll be okay. Then the doorbell shatters her calm. It's here. A bright voice calls out a greeting. It's Deliver Eater. Of all people, it's him, holding her enormous bento order. Her face drains of color in pure horror. He thanks her warmly for always ordering, as she stammers out that it's nothing at all. Then he hesitates. There's something he wants to ask her. He did some research on the places she once said she wanted to visit, and asks, shyly, if she has time right now. Right now? Her heart leaps and lurches all at once. But she's starving, staring down a mountain of cooling food she desperately wants to attack. Mustering everything, she insists he please go ahead, because she also wants to talk with him. He starts explaining the next place they could go, and she manages a faint yes. But she's too hungry to process a single word, panicking over what on earth she should do. If she starts wolfing down food at a moment like this, she dreads, he'll think she's improper and come to hate her. She can't bear that, so she vows not to take a single bite, even as her hand betrays her and sneaks in one mouthful of her apple. He freezes mid-sentence, sensing something off about his Wani-san. To him, her strained, starving expression looks like the glare of a beast. Is she angry? He panics. Her gaze is sharper than usual, sweat beading on her trembling face. Her eyes aren't smiling at all, even as she strains to tell him that the place he found sounds great. Inside, he spirals. Did he somehow do something to make her hate him without even realizing it? Both of them are quietly falling apart. He's sure she'll come to hate him, while she fights to endure her hunger and hide the drool she can't control. Her stomach lets out a monstrous growl, and her composure finally cracks wide open in sheer mortification. In that instant, it clicks for him. Right, her food. Of course, she just wants to eat. She shrinks down, drowning in apologies, ashamed that her body betrayed her right at lunchtime. She's certain it's over now, that he must think she's a ravenous monster who he completely hates. But he gently insists she eat first, brushing aside her flustered protests. Don't worry about it at all, he tells her. He brought this huge order, he confesses with a grin, precisely because he wants her to eat a lot. Her breath catches. Cheeks flushed, fist trembling, she gazes at him with overwhelmed, grateful eyes. In that case, she murmurs, leaning over the table, she doesn't have to hold back anymore. Her jaws open wide, all restraint finally gone. And with a blissful, unguarded smile, she devoured it, every last bite. The deliveries keep coming, and so do the small steps. But today is no ordinary shift. Today, he is about to ride the train, with the towering Wani-san from the delivery counter. And the very first obstacle nearly stops them cold. The platform is impossibly, suffocatingly crowded. It all began when she asked him a quiet, impossible favor. Would he take the train home together with her? Tiny Akari is baffled. He could just call a taxi. Why on earth put themselves through this? Mizum-san, the Wani-san, hurries to reassure them. She isn't angry at anyone. It's just that there's something gnawing at her, something she has to confess. She wants to be able to ride the train. On her own 2 feet, like anyone else. She asks him softly if that would be alright. And he can only stare, stunned by her resolve. So the 3 of them set off toward the west exit of the station. He's lost to her determination completely. They borrow Akari's jacket to help her stay hidden, and they commit to the train. But a worry needles at him. Is it really okay to pile on this many challenges at once? They already visited her house today. She must be exhausted. And then he sees it. The cold sweat beating down her face, her eyes wide with mounting panic. Because they've walked straight into the jaws of the evening rush hour. He spins around in alarm. The Wani-san is barely holding together. She looks, in his words, like a cat hacking up a hairball from sheer stress. He suggests they bail. Maybe a taxi really is the smarter call, but she refuses. She's okay, she insists. She can do this. And he can't look away from her. Why is she trying so unbearably hard? Is she rushing headlong into this just like before? Could it possibly be? No. He cuts the thought off. That's no good. If her spirit breaks here, then there's no point in him being by her side at all. If he can't do something to help her now, what good is he? He steadies himself and checks the small things. Does she have enough money on her card? She charges her card at the machine, hood up, jacket pulled tight. He tells her to go on ahead through the gate first. Some people glance her way, but it goes relatively smoothly. And yet, the real trial waits ahead. The packed train. And he steels himself with a single vow. He has to protect her. They squeeze into the crush of bodies, and she lets out a strangled groan, swallowed by the crowd. He tries to ease her burden, guiding her toward the wall where it's safer. Her face contorts, a half-strangled sound escaping her lips. She clings on, trembling, fighting the rising tide of panic. And he catches himself mid-thought. Arg, what is he even doing here? Because somewhere in the chaos, their faces have ended up dangerously, flusteringly close. Then she does something that floors him. She insists on standing on the inside, shielding him from the crowd. After all, she reasons, she's the big one here. He's left blinking, completely thrown by the offer. She braces one arm against the wall above him, her whole towering frame becoming his shelter. And it hits him like a slap. What's the point if he's the one being protected? She holds the pose, sweat sliding down her brow, jaw clenched against the strain. He stares up at her, something shifting behind his eyes. And without quite deciding to, he raises his own hand. He plants it on the wall beside hers, shielding her right back. Just a little more, he urges her. Just a little longer. And through gritted teeth and flushed cheeks, she answers him. Yes. The announcement chimes overhead. The next stop is coming. From here, he tells her, they can switch to a quieter train and ride out the rest in peace. They're past the hardest part. They made it. And she breathes it out, trembling with disbelief. She was able to do her best. A soft, exhausted smile breaks across her face, the kind few people ever get to see. And he smiles too, warmed by the small, hard-won victory. She apologizes that she wasn't a very good wall, and thanks him for helping her on the train. In the end, she admits, she didn't even have the brainpower to think about which station to get off at. She just left it all to him. But then she remembers something, and her face lights up. Oh, this. She fishes a small bundle out of her bag. Snacks. Mizum-san had told her to take some home, and she saved them for the ride. Since it's a calm one-train trip from here, she wonders shyly, maybe they could eat them now. He thanks her, touched. So they sit side by side, sharing snacks as the quiet train rocks them home. And her cheeks go pink. This feels like something, she murmurs. Like the 2 of them on their way to a school trip. He grins and agrees. A pretend school trip, the one neither of them ever got to have. And she beams that he's right. A wide, unguarded yes splits her face, pure and bright. He smiles back at her, then his expression softens into something more hesitant. Wani-san, he begins. Why, he finally asks, did she decide to ride the train today of all days? Her smile falters. Ah, she breathes, the words catching in her throat. She crumples in on herself, half joking, half breaking. She's just trash, isn't she? Dragging him out again with no explanation. She's sorry, but no, she presses on. Today wasn't about some old obsessive impulse. This time was different. When she opened up to him about being Fawari, she confesses, she was terrified he might leave. Because of the careful distance he always kept as a fan, the reverence of someone who treasured Fawari from afar. He'd always been so considerate, she says, so gentle with the line between them. She appreciated how he treasured those things. She even understood why. All along, she realizes, she had been mindful of his careful attitude toward her. She'd thought, maybe, if she could start closing that distance herself, it would help him too. She'd braced herself for the worst. But instead of leaving, she tells him, not as a customer. Not as a fan of Fawari. He stood by her side as plain, ordinary her. He promised he'd redo their lost youth together with her. And when she realized he truly meant to stay, she felt so deeply, achingly relieved. If he's with her, she says, she can do her best at anything. That's what she came to believe, in the most hopeful way. Her words land, and he goes still, the train sliding past her now distant figure in his memory. He'd always told himself he wasn't allowed to be near her unless he had some value. So he tried to become her bodyguard, something that mattered to her. But she thought it was enough for him to simply be there. Just to be with her. And that, he realizes, makes him so happy he can barely hold it. He'd been so consumed by her feelings, he confesses inwardly, that he never once stopped to notice his own. And now, sitting beside her in the hush of the empty train, he finally lets himself feel it. He wants to be with her, too. He buries his burning face in his hands, and she startles, calling out to him in a panic. Then he looks up, eyes shining, and makes his own vow. From now on, let's do all sorts of things together. Her eyes fly wide, cheeks blazing, utterly overwhelmed. And from the depths of her heart, she answers him. Yes. But just then her phone buzzes in the dark, and her face shifts. He notices her freeze and asks what's wrong. She gasps, eyes huge with shock. She stammers, clutching the phone to her chest, struggling to get the words out. She's received an invitation to a large-scale collaboration event, made up entirely of VTubers. He's stunned. That's amazing. She agrees it's incredible, but her voice trails off into dread. But, it's that one, she says darkly. The last time, she couldn't even speak a single word. They thought Fawari was a decoration. And this is the second time they've asked her. She's pretty traumatized by it, she admits, lowering her eyes. But, if he'll be with her, she says, turning to him, then this time, maybe she can try to get her revenge. Tears welling, she asks him, is that okay? He looks at her, surprise melting into quiet resolve. And as the train carries them on into the night, he answers without a shred of doubt. Let's definitely get that revenge. It starts with a confession the delivery boy never thought he'd make. Lately, he admits, something strange has happened to him. He is now playing a video game with the terrifyingly beautiful Wani-san from his delivery route. And she, of all people, breathlessly begs him to be gentle with her today. Inside his skull, every alarm bell screams at once. So close. She is so unbearably close. But rewind a moment. How did a simple delivery boy end up trembling in her hallway like this? Ever since the train ride home, he has been a wreck, grinning like a fool just standing at her door. His heart pounds for no reason. They aren't even standing that close. Why, he wonders, is his pulse betraying him? Ever since that day they took the train home together, he can no longer even look her in the face. What was that, he frets, clutching his head. What was he even thinking back then? But beneath the panic lurks a truth he can't run from. More than anything, he simply wants to be with her. It's because she's beautiful, he tells himself. Because she carries the voice of his beloved Fawari-chan. He scolds himself that it's immoral to feel this way. He shouldn't be feeling this. Not about the person behind his favorite VTuber. His fist clenches with the shame of it. Her voice cuts through his spiral. Oni-san, she calls, snapping him back to the present. He blurts out the only thing he can manage. He will support her with all his might. He means the game collaboration. He just wants to help make it a success, he stammers, and she thanks him sweetly. He clings to that thought like a lifeline. He can't let himself think about anything more than that. That's right, he repeats. He is only here to support her. Nothing more. The collaboration, it turns out, is a massive VTuber exchange project, and this year the headline game is a battle royale. But the old wound resurfaces. She mumbles that she'll just be a nuisance, that she'll become a decoration again, like last time. She crumples, whispering that she should never have accepted the invitation at all. He won't let her sink. No more being a decoration, he declares, throwing a fist into the air. They've already decided to do their best. First things first, he insists. They need to learn the game so well that she won't hold him back. And so, the two of them decide to sit down and actually play. She tries to say something, but the plan is set. There's a wrinkle. The real event runs on PC, but the game also has a console version, so they could practice in separate rooms. She refuses outright. Since she's decided to do this, she snarls with burning resolve, she'll do it properly. To his shock, she's lugged her entire console setup into the living room so she can practice there too. Then comes the sentence that ends him. Let's play on the sofa together, she says. He agrees before his brain catches up. Too close. Side by side on one couch, she is far, far too close. Their legs are nearly touching, and his composure quietly disintegrates. How, he marvels, did he ever act normal in here before? He's been to her house so many times, yet now he's a nervous mess. Did her room always smell this nice, he wonders helplessly. It feels so much like a girl's room. Beside him, she leans in, her smirking profile and that delicate choker filling his whole field of view. He stares dead ahead, sweat beading, jaw clenched against the storm in his chest. It's just like playing a game in his own house, he chants, gripping the controller for dear life. Don't have any impure thoughts about her, he howls internally. What is he even thinking? She tilts toward him, blinking. Oni-san? She asks, and he nearly leaps off the cushion. Pulling himself together, he announces it's time. Let's start the game, he says. She settles in, reacquainting herself with the controls, recalling she used to play battle royales back in the day. Focus on the game, he orders himself. This is what he gets for thinking weird things. Then she leans over to point out his mistake. His controller, she notes softly, isn't even linked yet. She reaches across to help, parts practically floating off her, and he yelps as their hands collide over the gamepad. Instantly she recoils, apologizing that her filthy hand touched him. No, that's not it, she insists, flustered. He just startled her, that's all. Meanwhile he confesses he's too nervous to concentrate at all. Then she drops a quiet surprise. Actually, she admits, she's been secretly practicing a little on her own. So honestly, she says with a bashful, half-lidded smile, she thinks she can handle playing with a duo partner now. He's stunned. At this rate, instead of supporting her, she's the one about to carry him. She seems so confident. He steels himself on the spot. Calm mind, he repeats, calm mind, calm mind. And then the match begins. Oni-san, she barks, enemies. On screen their avatars open fire, bullets ripping across a countryside battlefield as she takes the lead. But something flickers. He glances over. Oni-san, he says, that's, me. Her face freezes, sweat pouring down, the horror of realization dawning all over her. She's been shooting her own teammate. Sorry, she stammers, she couldn't tell them apart. He laughs it off warmly. It's okay, it happens all the time, he reassures her. Let's just take it slow. Why is he emoting, she demands, as their avatars wave cheerfully right where their enemies can see them. Then disaster strikes again. She accidentally throws away her own weapon, leaving a useless pile of guns on the ground. Oni-san, he cries, as the screen erupts and their squad is wiped from the map. Silence falls over the sofa. Two defeated players, one blinking cursor, a heavy unspoken pause. He says it as gently as he can. Oni-san, she really is not good at this at all. Her lip quivers. THT, she tries to protest, the words refusing to come out. She apologizes for making him play with her, melting into a puddle of shame, mumbling that maybe it really would be better if they just quit. He watches her sink, his own face softening with something dangerously like tenderness. He offers her an out. It's getting late, he suggests carefully, maybe they should call it a night. But she hesitates, and out slips a small, reluctant sorry. Then, flushed and earnest, she asks him to stay. Can they play just a little bit longer? Just a little longer. He freezes, eyes wide, caught completely off guard by the plea. She lowers her gaze and begins to confess. The truth is, she says, there's something she's never told him. She knows her viewers see her as someone hopeless at games, and that they want her to be exactly that. It's where everyone gets excited, those clumsy, funny moments that define Fawari-chan's whole streaming style. He'd always sort of suspected as much. Even if that's the case, she continues, her voice steadying. However, they went out of their way to invite her to this special collaboration. She refuses to use being bad as an excuse anymore. Her duo partner, she reasons, must be preparing hard too. She won't just coast on the idea that it can't be helped because she's the bad at games character. If she doesn't give it her all, she insists, eyes glistening, it would be rude to her viewers and to her collaboration partner. He stares at her, something tightening in his chest at the sheer sincerity of it. She knows he has his own schedule, she says, but she's forcing him to stay longer, and she's sorry for keeping him this late. No, he answers immediately, no problem at all, fumbling to reassure her. And in that moment a quiet certainty settles over him. She really is amazing. He picks the controller back up, his resolve hardening alongside hers. There's a way they can improve, she offers, leaning toward him. For example, she begins. She turns to him, cheeks flushed, eyes blazing with newfound determination. And so, side by side, the two screens light up the room as their real training begins. An enemy appears. She has to shoot, she tells herself, while he prays all the knowledge he passed on will keep her from her usual control mistakes. Her face scrunches up, sweat flying, every muscle straining against her own panic. Gunfire bursts across the screen in a chaotic flash of muzzle flares and tracer fire. Bullets rain everywhere as she blasts away wildly, and then, somehow, a hit lands. Even though she squeezed her eyes shut while shooting, he gasps, she actually killed the guy. Tears stream down her face, half terror and half disbelief, controller clutched tight. She did it, she cries. She killed him. Pure, overwhelming triumph bursting out of her. And in her joy she flings her arms around him, dragging the delivery boy into a full-on embrace. One ESA, he chokes out, completely short-circuited, pinned against her in stunned disbelief. And she beams, eyes shut, cheeks glowing, the happiest, most radiant smile he has ever seen. In that single instant, gazing at that joy, something inside him crystallizes. The two of them sit there, tangled together on the couch, hearts hammering in the sudden quiet. He lowers his head. Right, he thinks. Now he finally understands. The reason he wants to be with her, he realizes, isn't because she's beautiful. It isn't because she carries the voice of Fawari-chan. It's because, no matter what, she is earnest. Endlessly, painfully earnest. And because she gives her all, for everyone. That is the person he has fallen for. He sits with that truth, his face soft and certain, no longer running from it. Then the moment breaks with a yelp. A screenshot, she stammers, mortified. She should have taken a screenshot of her first kill. On screen the game flashes its own quiet verdict. You have become friends. She glances away, cheeks pink, the words hanging in the warm air between them. Later, at her door, she sees him off the way she always does, the practice run finally over. And as he steps out into the night, the thought he can no longer deny rises up at last. I'm in love with her. Standing in her doorway, dwarfed by the woman he once feared, the delivery boy finally admits the truth of his heart. Around that time, a small Halloween question floats his way. Which cat, anything at all, what costume does she plan to wear? And dead serious, she gives her answer. She wants an invisible costume. One that lets no one see her at all. The shut-in's dream, perfectly intact. Meanwhile, the delivery boy thinks back to a recent shift at Delivery Eaters. Because that one customer, the way too scary Wani-san, remains an absolute terror to his nerves. He pictures her looming there at the door, every line of her face sharp enough to cut. And then, mid-delivery, something tiny flickers through the air beside them. Her eyes lock onto it, wide and frozen. A bug. A single, harmless bug, fluttering far too close. Panic seizes him on her behalf. Wani-san, he stammers, are you okay? His mind races. He should probably shoo it away for her, right? That's the gentlemanly thing to do. But she has gone utterly rigid, her whole face trembling, terror leaking from every pore. And then the impossible happens. The bug itself bolts, fleeing as if it were the one in danger. It ran. The poor creature took one look at her glare and fled in raw fear. So, she's fine with bugs after all, huh, he thinks, jaw hanging open in disbelief. But no. She grips his arm, shaking, anything but fine. Through her terror she forces out the truth. It was scary, she sobs, tears spilling down that fearsome face. It was so scary. And so the delivery boy makes a quiet vow. Next time, he'll properly shoo every last bug away for her. Another shift, another order to deliver. It seems harmless enough at first. But the trouble, he admits, is something else entirely. A clatter at the door, a delivery to make. He has fallen completely, hopelessly in love with the lady at one of his destinations. And today, that very lady answers her door dressed in a sharp business suit, leaving him utterly stunned. Their faces nearly collide in the doorway, both flushing crimson, both letting out a startled gasp. It seemed she lunged to catch the order before it could spill, and the two ended up tangled far too close together. She blurts out an apology, insisting the katsudon was safe, while he scrambles for any shred of composure. She confesses she had to psych herself up just to open the door, which is, apparently, why she ordered katsudon in the first place. The suit combined with the sheer intensity in her eyes makes her look less like a host and more like an interrogator about to begin. He cautiously asks if she's heading somewhere. Psyching herself up for what, exactly? She explains that today, of all days, she's supposed to have a meeting with the organizer before the big VTuber collab. A meeting? The word lands on him like a thunderclap, his eyes going wide beneath his helmet. Panicking, he asks if it's in person. She insists it's remote, of course it's remote. Still, she admits, it's her very first time ever having a real meeting like this. Going out alone is still a bit much for her. So she thought she should prepare properly, and even bought a suit for the occasion. She didn't want to seem rude. He stands frozen on her doorstep, the full weight of her efforts sinking in. So that's why the suit. The shut-in Wani-san is trying to handle this whole preliminary meeting properly, all by herself. Even though she's still terrible at talking to people, she's facing it head-on. She just notices a run in her stocking. She really is amazing, he thinks, his heart skipping. This Wani-san of his. And then his face contorts into pure flustered panic, the realization of his own feelings crashing down. Because the moment he becomes aware of it, he ends up adoring every single little thing she does. That was dangerous. He forces himself to look away, jaw tight, fighting to steady his racing pulse. These feelings, he tells himself, are something he shouldn't have. Calm down, he pleads inwardly. His feelings are nothing but a hindrance. Right now, she is trying so hard. These feelings cross the line, he scolds himself. Here, in this first place, she's a customer and he's just a delivery guy. Nothing more. He has to suppress these feelings, he resolves, gripping the side of his head. Suppressing things, after all, is the one thing he's always been good at. Ever since long ago. Burying it for now, he asks what kind of preparation she actually did for the meeting. She hurries back inside, calling over her shoulder that this time, broadly speaking, she returns clutching a tower of how-to books, declaring she bought everything that looked even remotely necessary. It's incredibly thorough, he marvels. She admits she only managed a quick cramming, but she read through all of it. She wanted to look up everything beforehand so it wouldn't end in disaster like last time. Then her face falls into dread. Apparently one book claimed there's no business etiquette for a hugely shy person like her to avoid trouble. That's not true at all, she frets. It's like telling a kaiju to just star quietly in a monster movie, she despairs. He senses her effort is pointed in entirely the wrong direction. Then she brightens, announcing she also learned how to properly exchange business cards. He can only manage a baffled huh. Beaming, she shows him that she even made her own business cards. He points out the meeting is remote this time, but she insists she made them cute, matching them perfectly to Haney Fuwari's vibe. She wonders aloud if you somehow hand a card through the screen. He gently confirms that no, you absolutely do not. Stepping in to help, he asks if she has the card's design data saved on her PC. He shows her that even in a remote meeting, setting the card design as her background works as a self-introduction. Just like that, and done. She's awed, gushing that she's getting so much help from him. He waves it off. Then she peers at him and remarks that he looks kind of pained. Do I? He stammers, caught off guard. Did it show on his face just now? Panicking, he insists he's totally fine. He has to be careful. Lately he just can't seem to suppress these feelings, not since the day she told him her honest emotions. A laugh between them breaks the tension, and she suddenly realizes it's almost time for the meeting. She bolts upright in alarm, declaring she's off, the moment finally upon her. He starts to leave, apologizing for keeping her, ready to give her space. But then he hesitates at the doorway, the key still in hand. Leaving with the door unlocked would be bad. Too late. Through the door he hears voices. The meeting has already begun, the organizer greeting her. He freezes, trapped. He can't just go home and leave it unlocked, right? Inside, the organizer asks if they can hear her. She manages only a strangled, wheezing hello. Her breath comes in ragged, trembling gasps, the panic visible in every line of her. Then, somehow, she steadies herself and declares it, I am Haini Fawari. So nice to meet you. From outside the door, he listens, stunned, as she thanks the organizer for sparing the time today. She sits at her desk before the microphone, back straight, doing the impossible all on her own. She's stuttering, sure, his Wani-san. But she's speaking properly, holding the conversation together. Even the organizer praises her, telling Haini-san she's amazing. He stands rooted in the hallway, listening. She is amazing, he thinks, a soft smile breaking through. That's right. But then his gaze drops, the smile fading. Compared to such an Wani-san, he, again, to someone like her, who fights this hard, he feels impossibly small. Suppressing himself was supposed to be his one and only specialty. He's the one who should laugh along even when he's made fun of, who must never ruin the mood. His hand drifts toward the lock on the door, because if he does that, everything will settle down peacefully. If he just suppresses everything, the way he always has. His palm presses flat against the lock, the choice hanging in the silence. Was it always this painful, he wonders. A memory surfaces, himself, long ago, dragging himself to school. The boy he used to be, hunched and hollow, who swallowed everything and never let it show. Inside, the organizer asks if something triggered her growth, since they'd exchanged messages last time and heard she struggled with meetings. The question stops her cold. Her eyes go wide and glassy behind her glasses. She falters, searching for the words, a vulnerability cracking through her composure. Until now, she confesses, she's spent her whole life running away from so many things out of pure fear. But, she says, there is a person who gave her the courage to take a single step forward. And on the other side of the door, his breath catches. His feet shift, his whole body going still as he listens. That person is always amazing, she says, the kind who can do anything. Someone almost too good to be dealing with her, yet willing to spend time with her. She admits she once assumed someone that amazing could never have worries of their own. But even such a person has them. Because he's the kind of person who always acts for the sake of others, and because that person is so kind. It seems, she realizes aloud, that he keeps shoving his own feelings onto the back burner. Outside, every word strikes him to the core. She tells the organizer she's good for nothing and always just causes trouble, that maybe it'll be impossible for her in the future too. Her hands clutch at her chest, the old self-loathing welling up even now. But someday, she vows, she wants to repay the feelings of that person who always puts himself last. She wants to support Oniai-san's dreams too. She wants to be able to understand them. She thought that she needs to change. She wants, with everything in her, to be able to repay the favor. And outside, in the doorway, he stands utterly thunderstruck, her words meant for him without her ever knowing he's there. He never knew, he realizes, that she was thinking about him this much. All this time he used being a nuisance to her as an excuse, and tried to suppress his own feelings. But, she was trying to face him this much, all along. The realization shatters every wall he built. Then her voice falters mid-sentence. Oniai-san, she says softly, as if sensing something. The organizer fondly calls her Haini-san, noting she truly met a wonderful person who's been taking care of her. She apologizes for rambling. You met a wonderful person, didn't you? The organizer says warmly. And both her face and his, on opposite sides of the door, flush deep red. Her lips part, a bashful smile blooming as she begins to answer, yes. Yes, she declares brightly, the affirmation bursting out of her. The organizer says they're looking forward to working with her on the day. She manages a flustered, happy yes. And then, on her screen, the meeting has been ended by the host. It's over. She slumps over her desk in a boneless heap of relief. It's over, she breathes, scarcely believing it. And then he can't take it anymore. Wani-san, he calls out, throwing the door open while she berates herself as an idiot and a fool. Her head snaps up, one eye huge with horror, the truth dawning that he heard everything. She flails in panic, babbling that she froze and got carried away, that she only waited because leaving the door unlocked seemed dangerous. Did you hear it? She whispers, dread creeping in. Now then, he says, gathering himself, since earlier. She wails an apology, mortified at the embarrassing things she said. He admits, gently, that he heard just a little bit. Wani-san, he begins. She crumples into a heap, sobbing that she's sorry for even being alive. She blinks up at him, sniffling, bewildered when he doesn't pile on. She manages. Instead, eyes blazing with new resolve, he asks if he could please have her business card. She gapes, stammering, mine. He nods, pointing right at himself. Yes, his. His finger jabs toward her with fierce, trembling determination. He's just a part-time delivery guy, he admits. But, from now on, he says, the two of them are in a business relationship. And she, drawing herself up beside him, vows she'll try not to forget that too. I want to, he says, voice cracking, I want to know more about you, Wani-san. She goes utterly still, his confession landing in the quiet. And then, he adds, as comrades who reclaim their lost youth together. He bows his head to her. His face burns, eyes shut tight, the bravest thing he's ever done laid bare. And she answers, tears glittering, a radiant smile breaking across her face. Yes, of course. Two hands meet over the desk, a business card passing between them like a quiet promise. He still cannot convey his true feelings to her right now, he admits, bowing low as she returns the gesture. But if he can improve, little by little, even his habit of suppressing himself and turning a blind eye. His fists clench, knuckles white, holding the resolve close. In his own way, in his own time, he wonders if maybe it's okay for him to start facing his own feelings too. Sheepishly, she offers to hand over her cash, card, and pin all together. He scrambles to insist that is absolutely fine, since her business cards came out wrong anyway. She gives a soft, watery little laugh, cheeks pink, the tension melting into warmth. And he grins back at her, bashful and bright, a quiet joy in his eyes. Side by side they laugh together, two awkward souls a little less alone than before. Let's do our best until the day comes, they promise each other. Yes. And so, together, they keep walking toward it. It begins with a confession of small steps, how one little delivery job quietly rewrote his entire life. And he remembers the trembling Wani-san who once cornered him at her door, begging him in a broken voice to come with her. Back in the present, she stammers, struggling to push the words past her lips while he listens. Cheeks flushed, she finally forces it out. She has been invited to an off-kai. An offline meetup, in the flesh. And so he agrees to accompany the Wani-san to the meeting place, an off-kai he can barely wrap his head around. The manager of her partner VTuber reached out personally, proposing they meet in person before their collaboration to get acquainted. He brightens, urging her that if she is meeting someone in real life, she can finally hand over one of those business cards she so proudly made. But beneath his cheer, a quiet unease flickers across his face. He resolves that he should try to face his own feelings, in his own way. Because she is active enough now to be invited into a collab with such a famous VTuber. And the further she pulls ahead, the more he realizes just how incredible she truly is. He knows the feeling himself. She says it is enough just to have him by her side, because he was there for her. He has tried to take it as a kindness, to believe that with him near, she can give anything her best. But the truth he keeps circling back to is simpler and crueler. He has no confidence in himself. He wants to become someone who feels like it is okay to stand beside her. But unlike her, he has nothing he is good at, and nothing he burns to do. His open hand holds only emptiness. Meanwhile, the Wani-san stares at her phone, drowning in her own dread. How could someone like her ever stand at this woman's side? Because the person waiting for them, her partner for the duo, is no ordinary VTuber. It is Otonaji Kanade-san, a creator she personally and deeply respects. He nearly chokes on his snack. That Kanade mama, the supreme maternal instinct sister-type VTuber, a senior with a longer career and far more subscribers. She confesses that she secretly watches Kanade mama's streams to soothe her own anxiety, her gentle voice making everything feel safe. This is a VTuber she genuinely looks up to, so she wanted to try meeting her. But, her legs are shaking violently, terrified of being seen by so many people at the meeting spot. A giant woman like her, she despairs, who takes up space just by existing, has no right to meet the idolized Kanade mama and offend her eyes. He cries that none of that is true. He rallies her. Kanade mama is a grown woman with a nurturing aura, surely kind to anyone she meets. The saintly, mature, compassionate VTuber. If it is Kanade mama, she agrees, there is nothing to fear. He hauls her up to her feet. With that spirit she feels she can go, ready to face the meeting at full strength. And then, somewhere nearby, a furious shriek shatters the moment. Someone is wailing that if they go outside in this heat, they will die, dragged along by a tiny figure. The small one snaps back, asking if she wants to turn her own mother into a roasted mama. A door bursts open in a flurry of motion. He gawks. It is the first time he has ever seen a grown adult throw a tantrum quite like that. Those, he wonders, are the people living next door. She admits she never goes out, so she truly would not know. Half joking, he suggests they wait for the neighbors to leave before heading out themselves. But then the tiny manager's voice carries through the wall, scolding the woman, telling her not to act like a child, reminding her she is going to talk to Fawari-chan. Fawari-chan's name. Spoken aloud, right next door. His blood runs cold. The pieces snap together. Could it be, he stammers, that these neighbors are Otonaji Kanade-san? The tantrum-throwing woman freezes, eyes wide, caught in the open. And the face that turns toward them is, unmistakably, the famous Kanade mama herself. She panics, blurting out apologies, spinning to her little manager, asking what on earth she should do. The tiny manager grabs her by the collar to steady her. Then Kanade bows low and scrambles to gather something off the ground. Her eyes go huge with recognition. In her hands is a business card. Heini Fawari. Trembling, she breathes the name. Fawari-chan. The very partner she came to meet, standing right outside her door. He can hardly believe it. Fawari-chan was their neighbor all along. Kanade beams and apologizes for always being so noisy. Face hidden, the Wani-san manages only a stiff, stuttered insistence that it is fine. Gathered around a table now, Kanade giggles warmly that her guest seems awfully nervous. He stares, stunned. She is a completely different person from the screaming woman of a moment ago. But the little manager flatly cuts in, telling her mama it is useless to keep up the act because she has already been found out. Time to start over, the woman sighs. She introduces herself as Otonaji Kid, and the small one as her manager, Koto. She wilts, mortified, asking if they really cannot just pretend they saw nothing. She frets to Koto-chan that Fawari-chan must be utterly disillusioned with them now. But the Wani-san sits frozen, utterly silent, processing. He watches her closely. She is not angry, he realizes. She is simply overwhelmed by how different this Kanade is from the streams. Kanade declares she has had enough, she is going to eat some snacks. And Koto, this so-called manager, snaps that she is but a child, scolding her like a tired parent. His mind reels. What on earth must the Wani-san be thinking of her idol right now? She is visibly shaken, muttering the name Kanade mama like a prayer coming apart. He can almost see her trying to rationalize the gap splitting open in her head. Koto wrestles the snacks away, insisting her mama will not eat dinner otherwise. Kanade howls that she is eating them. The Wani-san's eyes go blank, her whole image of her idol quietly crumbling. Then it lands on her properly. This pint-sized manager is an elementary schooler. He understands her shock. This is so far from the saintly mama she worshipped. He gently notes that at this point, she is basically a devoted believer watching her faith waver. Kanade explains it plainly. Since they have already seen, she will be honest. The VTuber is a complete character, and her real self is always like this. But it works out fine, she chirps, because her daughter Koto-chan supports her. His jaw drops. Your daughter. Kanade confirms it lazily. Yes, her biological daughter. His mind splits in two directions at once. Your daughter is the manager. She really is a real-life mama. Kanade declares, with total sincerity, that Koto-chan is truly amazing. She gushes that Koto sets her schedule, dreams upstream ideas, and handles every little chore for her. A truly capable manager, she swoons, heart in her eyes. Koto, flushed, mutters that her mama is saying far too much. He and the Wani-san can only stare. But you really are amazing, Kanade insists, even though you are only in middle school. He marvels at the impossible pair before him. A capable middle school manager, and a VTuber mother. Then Kanade glances at the time and, brightening, asks a sudden favor. Could she record just one short video? Koto's eyes go wide with alarm. The Wani-san leaps in, insisting it is totally fine, even asking shyly if they might watch. But Kanade balks, whining that she was told there would be no recording today if they met Fawari-chan. Koto counters coldly. That was only if the meetup was outdoors. This is normal recording time. Kanade wails her protest, crying that the soundproof room is like a sauna. Koto, unmoved, simply shoves her toward it and orders her to just do it. Kanade snaps back that Koto is the real hag here, the bickering reaching a fever pitch. Once her mama is sealed inside, Koto slumps with a weary sigh, muttering that it is honestly exhausting. He hesitates, then quietly speaks up to address her. Koto-san. She turns toward him, and the Wani-san watches on. He asks the question burning in him. Why did she decide to become Kanade-san's manager? For a moment, Koto's face softens, the bluster falling away. She leans in and lowers her voice. It is a secret from mama, okay? Inside the booth, Kanade reluctantly slips on her headphones, grumbling. She leans toward the microphone, the grumbling fading. And then she sings. Eyes shut, hands clasped to her chest, a voice of pure, effortless beauty pours out. The Oni-san listens, breath caught, the music reaching straight through the glass. He, too, is held spellbound. Quietly, Koto begins her story. Her mother used to work in show business, aiming to be a singer. Inside the booth, Kanade sways, lost and radiant in the song. The Oni-san softens into a small, awed smile. Her mama's talent, the Oni-san whispers, is clear even through a soundproof wall. But then Papa passed away early, Koto continues, and she herself was a weak, often sick child, so her mother gave up that job and moved away. Koto's small face tightens, hands pressed together with quiet resolve. That is why, she says. She wants her mama to aim for the stage again. She admits she has no dream or talent of her own to chase the way her mama does. But because she has watched her mother more closely than anyone, she knows exactly what it takes for her to shine, and she is ready to do everything she can. If mama is a VTuber and she is her manager, Koto explains, they can chase the dream together while staying home. It was a way to protect her fragile health and her mother's dream at once, born from a child curled up in bed. She remembers being small and sickly, watching her mother hum sweetly over a stuffed bear. Her mother singing softly, even in those hard days, a melody that never quite faded. And the child made a silent vow, eyes shining in the dark. The dream her mama once gave up on, Koto says, she wants to fulfill it together with her. Then she turns to him knowingly. As a manager himself, he must understand, right? There is nothing better than chasing a dream together. The words strike him like lightning, his eyes going wide. Manager. The word echoes. Come to think of it, Mizum-san called him that too, the day she marveled that someone so young was acting as her manager. The only thing he has, he realizes, is determination. Koto had it too. Him, the one with nothing he is good at, who swore he would do anything for her sake. Steeling himself, he calls out again. Koto-san. He asks it outright. Could she teach him about manager work? Beside him, the Oni-san blinks, startled by the resolve in his voice. He does not want to stay powerless anymore, he declares. He wants to be able to help her when the moment comes. A vow blazes up inside him. As a manager, he says, he wants to become someone who can stand by her side. The Oni-san lowers her gaze, the words sinking quietly into her. Koto tilts her head, studying him. She muses. You, weren't you her manager already, she asks, eyeing the slumped delivery boy beside her. Then, with a sly little smile, she asks the real question. So are you her boyfriend? Both of them short-circuit on the spot. What a good boyfriend, Kanade coos, having slipped back in, wanting to support her like that. The two flail, stammering denials. Koto cuts the teasing short, giving him a firm thumbs up. Yeah, she gets it. Okay. He stares, hardly daring to believe she agreed. Koto, suddenly bashful, apologizes for speaking out of turn earlier. The Oni-san softens toward her. And he bows deep, voice ringing out. Thank you very much. Later, walking home, the Oni-san wears a soft, unguarded smile. She tells him gently that his face looks so refreshed now, brimming with energy. He realizes, with a jolt, that for now at least she does not seem to hate the idea. Yes, she insists, he seems so much more lively and full of energy. The idea of him learning manager work, that is. He flushes, caught off guard by her approval. She glances away, a tiny pout flickering across her face as a thought of her own takes root. Her eyes soften with a quiet, tender determination. She resolves silently, wants to support his dreams, to be able to repay him the favor. Just then a delighted shriek pierces the air. Fuwari-chan. Someone has spotted them. Kanade leans close, beaming, telling the Oni-san she is looking forward to the collab tomorrow. The Oni-san seizes up, stammering helplessly, with Koto and the delivery boy looking on. And just like that, the spirit for the collaboration has reached its peak, the stage now set for tomorrow. After weeks of preparation, the day they swore to conquer has finally arrived. The Oni-san clutches her microphone, eyes burning, ready for the collaboration that once broke her. The delivery boy can only stare at the incredible intensity blazing in her eyes. She's really fired up, he thinks. Truly, terrifyingly fired up. And then, without warning, her face crumples. She lets out a strangled wail, and he panics, certain he's somehow broken her. The truth spills out. That intensity wasn't confidence at all. She'd crawled into bed early to sleep, but couldn't stop imagining every way she might fail, and never slept a wink. So the fire in her eyes was just the wild stare of total exhaustion, after morning came before she even noticed. He scrambles to reassure her. It's okay, he insists. He's her manager too now. He'll do everything in his power to support her, he promises. The two of them flushed and close. She softens at the word manager, and stammers out his name in that small, fond voice. She steels herself, balling her fists. Yes, she'll do her best. Because today is the day. They're going to be number one, he asks her, eyes shining. Right? And a memory surfaces, a voice promising her that tomorrow, she'll be number one. Beneath his bike helmet, the delivery boy's expression hardens with quiet resolve. He remembers the moment everything was wagered on this collaboration, when she begged him to help them. Number one, he'd echoed back then, stunned. Surely she couldn't mean it. Back in those wild days he'd been swept along, accused of being too cool, dragged into their reckless dream as a secret weapon. His memory races, a blur of frantic energy and a girl in a red dress amid the chaos. And in the end, against all reason, he'd thrown back his head and screamed yes. Now the weight of that promise sinks in. Koto-san and Kanade-mama are taking this collaboration deadly seriously. He does his job perfectly as her manager, he tells himself. He can lighten her burden and carry them all the way to number one. He's learned so much about being a manager from Koto-san, right up to this very moment. He glances at the streaming setup and breathes deep. Let's do this. Across the platform, the great all VTuber event roars to life. Gather around, everyone, the hosts call. It's starting now. Comments flood the chat in a torrent of hype as the party officially kicks off. And in her quiet room, headphones on, she faces the glowing screen alone. Her heart pounds like a drum. It's starting, she whimpers. Ah, you, the old terror creeping back. He rushes water and chamomile tea to her side, anything to calm her nerves. She manages a trembling thanks. Sweat beads on her brow as she leans into the mic, cat-eared headphones framing her fragile resolve. The button waits beneath her cursor. Start streaming. Well then, she breathes, beginning the broadcast. Her voice quavers out into the world. Hello, from Fuwa. The chat erupts, but cruelly. No audio. Mute? Is she nervous? Is she going to become a statue again, the old wound reopening live? She freezes, eyes wide and glassy. Ah, the words won't come. Her gaze trembles on the edge of panic, that familiar paralysis closing in. Desperate, he thrusts up a sketchpad sign. It's okay. Calm down. She sips the tea, steadying herself one fragile breath at a time. She seizes herself and leans back into the mic, fighting the fear down. Her eyes snap wide, pulse hammering, the moment hanging on a knife's edge. Then rescue arrives. Her collab partners burst on screen, bright and warm. Hello everyone, I'm Otonaji Kanade, beams one of them. Kanade-mama gushes that today's collab partner is none other than Fawari-chan, and tells her, let's have a great time. The delivery boy's heart melts at the sight. Kanade coaxes her along, telling her to rely on her like a real mama, and the chat goes wild. Oh no, I'm falling in love. Fawari can actually communicate. She's growing. Alright, he thinks, fists clenched. A good start. He should be doing well as a manager too, he tells himself. He has to pull this off, no matter what. Stay calm. And then, wait, what? The stream has stopped. Huh? The words don't compute. The MeTube server is down. The entire platform has crashed beneath them. Panic ripples through the call. The stream stopped. Yeah. What should they do? Kanade frets to Koto-chan. Koto-san reels. Their concurrent viewers had finally been climbing, and now there's no choice but to wait, helpless. But the delivery boy refuses to wait. Is the voice call still connected? He demands. He moves toward her in the dim room, an idea catching fire, and her hand reaches out, fingers closing around his arm in the half-dark. He thinks he has to do something. She's finally relying on him. Oh Oni-san, she murmurs. But his own fear surges, eyes blown wide, the weight of fixing this crushing down on him. Think, he urges himself. He's the manager, so he has to fix this. Sweat slides down his neck as he strains for any solution at all. Then his phone rings, and a voice cuts through. Hey. Are you thinking you have to fix everything yourself? He blinks, phone pressed to his ear, caught completely off guard. The caller, his rookie VTuber friend, knew it. She felt like he was exactly that type. Whether he's a manager or a performer, she tells him, he can't face a big stage all by himself. It's arrogant for a manager to think they can handle everything alone. Even so, if he still wants to stand on that stage with her, What will he do, she asks. The question hangs over his hunched shoulders. He listens in silence, phone to his ear, something shifting inside him. Listen, Mr. Manager, she says gently. The reason they were able to honestly say they wanted to be number one, the reason they ever dreamed it at all, it's because they believed they could achieve it, she says, if the three of them faced it together. His eyes widen as the words land, the truth dawning bright and clear. The two of them, he repeats, the meaning sinking deep into his chest. He'd said he wanted to stand by her side, but has he ever truly looked at her from the same eye level? And yet he kept struggling alone, because he didn't want her to leave, always pulling back a step, taking everything on himself, keeping his distance. If he doesn't stand on the same level and face her as an equal, he realizes, he'll never truly be by her side. I see, he whispers, the answer finally crystal in his mind. He kneels at her chair. Excuse me, Wani-san, he says. Why yes, she answers, uncertain. Please, he says, looking up at her. Lend me your strength. She stares down at him, breath catching, utterly thrown. Until now, he confesses, he'd only thought about support, like he had to handle everything himself. But, he'd just been acting cool because he didn't want to show her his pathetic side. There are so many things he can't do, he admits. And if he keeps doing that, he says, he can't stand by her side. She stares, flushed and wide-eyed, the words reaching something fragile inside her. She begins. He wants to make this collab a success with her, he declares, even if it means exposing every one of his flaws. Honestly, he admits, he doesn't have a solution right now. But, he bows his head to the floor before her. Won't she think of one together with him? Please. She goes quiet, hidden behind her hair, the weight of his plea settling over her. And then she breaks into tears, smiling through them. If he's okay with her, please. He grins back, fierce and bright. Let's get through this together. A monitor glows with a single, merciless message. Server error, 503. Retry. This is a crisis no delivery can fix. During the Wani-san's VTuber collaboration event, the stream has completely stopped. The two of them stare at the dead screen, frozen and sweating. MeTube is a giant platform, she says, so this almost never happens. The server itself is the one causing the error, but everyone worked so hard. At this rate, the collaboration itself could be cancelled. She refuses to be rude to her viewers, or to her partner, by giving up now. He grits his teeth, mind racing. There has to be something. Anything he can do. Then a memory surfaces. This whole mess, she muses, reminds her of the old Ikonika live broadcast days. Voice impersonation streams, viewer call-ins, the cozy chaos of Tatsumachi. The two of them light up, trading nostalgic memories of shows they both once loved. She catches herself and apologizes, flustered, for rambling about things that don't matter right now. But it does matter. His eyes snap wide. An idea has just detonated inside his skull. He whirls on her with a single desperate question. Does she still have her old Nika live account? Her breath catches. Certainly, if it's that platform, the realization dawns on her too. The game is still running on her partner's side, he confirms. Kanade Mama is still in there, waiting. No way, she whispers. Yes way, he answers. A salvage operation is taking shape between them. The plan crystallizes. They'll stream on Nika instead, while he contacts the organizers to spread the new link. A two-front rescue. For one breathless beat, he stares at his phone, the weight of the gamble settling onto him. Then the recording light blinks on. Fuwari-chan takes her seat before the screens, headset on, and the emergency broadcast begins. Out in the comments sections, confusion ripples. The server went down. People can't see the stream. Everyone's told to wait. Fans were really looking forward to this. Surely the whole project isn't just going to end like this, the dread is contagious. And then, a notification. Fuwari-chan's flower-crowned icon flickers back to life online. She posts it everywhere. Regarding the PUBR major collab, #PUBRcollab. The new stream is live, and the link is spreading. The game progressed a bit, she beams, but it can be watched from here. Hello, Fuwa. She's Haneda Fuwari, and the show will go on. Disbelief floods the chat. Wait, what? They can still watch the stream. Then one word starts trending in the replies. The Savior. The official collab management account scrambles to keep up. The server is down, but Fuwari and Kanade suggested a plan. Everyone, please use this platform to stream. And he posts under her name too. He's Haneda Fawari's manager, and they're starting an emergency stream right here. The link goes out to the world. His eyes go wide as he watches the numbers. She's fast. The migration is happening faster than he ever imagined. Panic of a different kind sets in. Is this server going to crash too? The numbers are climbing too fast, this is bad, this is bad. On Nika Nika Live, the chat begs everyone to enjoy the stream until MeTube recovers. Fawari and Kanade are saved. The fans pour in, grateful, cheering them on. She survived. The chat roars. In-game, Fawari shrieks for her mama to help, getting knocked down, fans laughing along. She goes down with a comedic crash. The verdict is unanimous. Fawari-chan is a total baby. And honestly, she wants to be one. Clip channels pounce instantly. Shorts appear within minutes. Fawari fell into a trap, Fawari knocked, the moments go viral live. The praise cascades. There are shorts already. Good job. Too competent. The internet has fallen in love. Is this the manager's doing, they wonder. Fawari cute. He clutches his phone, vowing to forward every last comment to her. And the concurrent viewer count is hiking. Sweat beads on her brow as the number simply will not stop rising. On the trending board, the proof is undeniable. PUBR collab. Fawari-chan. Kanade mama. Thousands of posts, all climbing together. She holds up the phone, trembling with joy. They're trending. Both Fawari and Kanade. He looks at her, cheeks flushed, a quiet, overwhelmed smile breaking across his face. They actually pulled it off. On the Nika Nika feed, viewers note how the two stars shine even brighter together, and more fans keep streaming in. Back in the game, the rescue finds its rhythm. Kanade mama and Fawari, side by side, weapons drawn, fighting on as a true duo. From behind, he watches her play, lit by the monitor glow, savoring the sight of her in her element. Controller in hand, she grins, fully alive, the shut-in transformed into the savior of the entire collab. The verdict trends in real time. Today's MVP is definitely Fawari Kanade. No contest. As the match winds down, the two streamers share the moment. That was fun, really exciting. Their rank was mediocre, and in the end they couldn't win. But still, well then, they sign off together. Otsufuwa. She had fun too, she admits. It really was fun. The live stream ends. The stream goes dark, and a radiant, boyish grin lights up his whole face. They did it. He calls out, good work, Wani-san. And she rises from her chair, and suddenly lunges toward him, crying out for her Oni-san. Time seems to slow. He turns, eyes widening, as she closes the distance. And she throws her arms around him, burying her face against his chest in a fierce, unguarded embrace. Oni-I, she breathes against him, the word trembling, all her armor gone. I'm so glad, she whispers, eyes shut tight. So glad. The relief pours out of her at last. His face crumples, overwhelmed. We combined our strength, he stammers, and we did it. And in that closeness, something in his expression shifts. The blush, the racing heart, the awareness of exactly how near she is. Then, gently, her hand comes to rest on his head, and she pats him, the rescuer being soothed by the one he rescued. I'm so tired, she groans, going utterly limp against him, dead weight in his arms. Fawari-chan. And then a tiny, mortifying detail surfaces. The voice call was still connected. Kanade mama, on the line, heard everything. And not just Kanade. Koto, her middle school manager daughter, chimes in too. The both of them did a truly great job. He doesn't feel like he did anything, he mumbles. But he managed it, he tells Koto, thanks to her advice on a manager's work. No, he insists, holding the limp Wani-san steady. He understands now. He finally gets what it means to stand at her side. From now on, he declares with shining eyes, he's going to be with the Wani-san. A vow spoken aloud, to everyone listening. On the other end, Koto and Kanade go starry-eyed and speechless at the sudden confession. Then the teasing question lands like a bomb. Are you two, getting married? His soul promptly leaves his body. His face goes blank and white with horror as the words sink in. Realization slams into him. That came out completely wrong. He erupts into a sweating, full-body panic, scrambling to take it back. And no, that's not it, he wails. He meant in the sense of combining their strength. Ah, I see, the Wani-san murmurs, glad she could be of help. He clutches his head in despair. He's made the Wani-san feel awkward again. What on earth is he even saying? But her face, half-lit and soft, betrays no hurt. Only a quiet, weary tenderness. Then her mood dips. She begins, glancing away. In the end, they couldn't get first place in the game. I'm sorry, she says, eyes downcast. The guilt of falling short weighs on her despite everything. They'd bet everything on this collaboration, she'd said. And even though they couldn't place first in the game, they'd meant to be number one, she frets. What is he saying, she asks, as he steps forward. He answers her the way she once asked him to help her. We, he says simply, are number one. They stood out the most of anyone, he tells her. Thank you, she whispers, the warmth flooding back into her smile. The two of them dissolve into exhausted, triumphant grins, faces lit up like fools who just conquered the world. And they owe Kanade-mama a reward too. They're streamers, after all, he shrugs. Obviously. Oh, that kind of number one, the others realize. On the call, Kanade flashes a peace sign, beaming. Yay. The trend rewards are settled. Thank you very much, he says brightly. Good work today, comes the cheerful reply from the line. And with a tap of the red button, the call ends. The long, frantic night is finally over. In the quiet aftermath, he turns to her, a thought forming, while she sits exhausted at her desk. Odo mentioned a reward for Kanade-mama, he says. So it'd be nice, he ventures shyly, if the Wani-san had a reward too. Yes, she stammers. He can deliver something she likes, he offers, the delivery boy reaching for the one gift he knows how to give. But she has a different wish. In that case, she says quietly, she wants them to have a reward, together. That thing he mentioned the other day, a school trip, she says, peering up at him with bashful, hopeful eyes. Won't he go with her? A school trip. He recoils, blushing furiously, while she grins. Their plan to relive a stolen youth has just taken its boldest step yet. Around that time, away from the spotlight of the big collab, the Wani-san has a quieter crisis brewing. Meloni, the rookie VTuber, spams her phone on Rhine every single day, and every single day, Mizum-san stares at her screen in agony. She should be happy someone wants to talk to her, but she has absolutely no idea how to reply. Then a message lands that gives her an opening. Is something troubling you, Fawapi? Tell me everything. Now that she mentions it, there is one thing. With a school trip coming up, the shut-in has no clue what the right outfit even looks like. Big mistake. Meloni hears the word outfit and comes straight to her house, shrieking for every juicy detail. Hey, I'm here. Of course she knows where to find her. The poor Wani-san had forgotten she'd already handed over her address. Bouncing with glee, Meloni offers her expert advice on the trip, and naturally, she has questions. When she learns the trip is with Manager Kuan, she short-circuits entirely. The Wani-san realizes she just told the absolute worst person possible, and Meloni's reaction confirms it, that gremlin grin spreading across her face as she savors every second of the gossip. Flustered, Mizum-san insists she's already decided. She'll just wear her usual outfit, and she'll be fine, thank you very much. But Meloni won't have it. A special trip deserves a Gapmo makeover. That cool look is sexy too, sure, but what a waste. And so the storm of styling begins, the Wani-san swallowed in a whirlwind of clothes and giddy commentary. Transformation into dress-up doll, complete. From somewhere beneath the pile, a tiny voice begs for help, but Meloni is in heaven. This is fun, she beams. Fawapi is so pretty, she's like her dream makeover project. She studies her like an artist, declaring her face has a cool beauty vibe, so mature outfits suit her far better than overly sweet ones. Something nags at Mizum-san, though. Why does Meloni own so many clothes that fit her perfectly, when the two of them aren't even the same height? The answer is unhinged. They never even had plans to meet, yet Meloni panic-bought everything online in her exact size. Then she raises the stakes. Sexy underwear matters too, right? Just kidding, mostly. But if she's going on a trip, underwear? The word detonates in the Wani-san's brain, and the panel splinters into pure, screaming panic. She rounds on Meloni, wild-eyed, demanding to know exactly what kind of underwear she's supposed to wear. Meloni just snickers. She's way more intense about this than the clothes. Caught, the Wani-san collapses into a blushing heap. As the styling winds down, an old fear creeps back in. When the conversation dies, things get really awkward, she just knows it. But it never comes. The silence never turns sour. For someone as shy as her, this is fun, and she can't understand why Melanie is doing all this for her. Then Melanie tells her. She always dreamed of doing stuff like this with a girlfriend. Mero, the Wani-san breathes, the word landing softly. Mizum-san looks at her, cheeks pink, something tender flickering behind her eyes. But Melanie's confidence wavers. She barged in out of nowhere, she frets, that must have been annoying. Saying it out loud sounds kinda creepy, huh? Just kidding. The Wani-san won't let her brush it off. It was her dream too, she admits, the words trembling but true. Melanie lights up like a firework. Then can she come over every single day? Maybe not that often, the Wani-san backpedals gently. There are limits, after all. Still glowing, Melanie admires her work. She looks adorable now, doesn't she? And next time, they'll do her hair too. And there she is, transformed. The fearsome Wani-san, softened and shining, almost unrecognizable in her own quiet beauty. She bows her head, clutching the bags of clothes. Thank you, she murmurs. Thank you very much. And as Melanie heads for the door, that gratitude carries the warmth of a friendship finally taking root. Kawapi, Melanie calls back. She'll be cheering her on that day, on the trip with the boy she loves. The Wani-san flushes, caught off guard, and manages only a tiny, bashful yeah. Do your best. Melanie cheers. Yeah. She answers, louder this time. And just like that, two lonely girls became a little closer. The promised day finally arrives, and it begins, of all places, with one last delivery. But today is different. The day has finally come. He is going on a school trip with the Wani-san at the delivery address. She had insisted on planning every last detail of the trip herself, so all he has to do is show up. Still, he can't shake the worry of whether this will actually go well. Coming to Mizum-san's place dressed in something other than his work clothes feels strangely thrilling, and he's just a little pumped up. The door clatters open, and she apologizes for keeping him waiting. And there she stands, dressed up, travel bag in both hands, waiting for him. His brain short-circuits on a single thought. She is far too cute. She actually dressed up for this. For him. The realization wrecks him quietly. He tries to keep a straight face, but the sweat gives him away. He manages to tell her that her usual clothes are nice too, but today's outfit really suits her. Her eyes go wide, cheeks flushing, completely caught off guard by the compliment. She stammers out a thank you, and behind her, he quietly melts into a puddle of embarrassment for having actually said it out loud. She confesses, half panicking, that Mizumura-san herself picked this outfit out for her. And she shyly insists that he, too, looks good in what he wore for the trip. She thinks it to herself, never quite daring to say it aloud. He looks handsome. He's looking at her. Inside, he is spiraling. Going on a trip with the person he likes, honestly, he isn't sure he can keep his sanity intact. What is he supposed to do? Can he really survive this trip at all? Then she produces something. An itinerary booklet. The classic thing you get on a real school trip. He remembers her saying she was going to make it, and now it's here, in his hands. He thanks her, beaming. Page after page, it's astonishingly well made, hand-drawn and laminated. The effort floors him. It hits him properly now. This really is a school trip. After all, she tells him, with quiet determination, that on this trip they'll make a lot of their lost youth come true. And, she announces, they've already arrived. He throws out his arms in delight. Hakone. The destination she chose for their reunion with youth. His parents brought him here once when he was little, he tells her. It was the only place he could really recommend for a trip. He frets that Kyoto or Okinawa would feel more like a real school trip, but Hakone was the only place that came to mind. But the thought stops him cold when he looks at her. She managed to ride the train all by herself, properly. Even though this is her first time going out alone in the daytime, she did her very best. He can see it now. She's definitely shaking, holding herself together by a thread. But when he asks, she insists that's not it at all. This, she tells him, is their own special kind of school trip after all. Her eyes shine, brimming, moved beyond words by the moment. She's thought of so many things for them to do, she says, so let's get going. And she thanks him from the heart. First on the list, a row of little tins waiting to be filled. First up is Hakone's famous manju, the steamed buns, freshly pressed. The machine stamps the brand logo right onto the bun, and he marvels that it looks great. It feels like a real trip, he says. She admits, a little bashful, that eating these buns was one of the youthful school trip experiences she wanted to try. A bun lands in her hand, steaming hot. "Let's eat," he grins, and bites in. Then she leans in close, holding her own bun up to his mouth. "Oni-san," she breathes. He flails, frantically refusing. "No, no, no way, he already has his own bun right here." But she insists. Feeding each other, she says softly, is one of the things she wanted to do. His mind detonates. Wait, this is the thing she wanted to do, or is he just overthinking it? Isn't the distance between them way too close for a normal customer relationship? A strangled noise escapes him, sweat pouring, completely undone. Somehow he caves and agrees to do it, while she peeks out nervously beside him. She's already gotten him to agree, he realizes, helpless against her. He starts to wail that it's embarrassing, and she just shushes him gently. He squeezes his eyes shut, every nerve screaming, ordering himself to just keep it together. The next stop towers ahead of them. A great pirate ship docked on the lake. He confesses he couldn't even process the taste of that bun at all. On the ship he's slumped over, laughing weakly that he's totally fine, while she leans in, worried, asking if he's alright. She asks if he's seasick. He insists he isn't, even as he goes green. She studies him and declares the verdict flatly. He is, unmistakably, seasick. Then, without warning, she pulls his head down into her lap. Wait a minute, he sputters. She explains, blushing, that taking care of someone who got seasick on a trip was also something she really wanted to try. When you feel sick, it's nice to lean on someone. He short-circuits all over again. She wanted to try it for that specific reason. Meanwhile he sits rigid in her lap, perfectly fine, thank you. She gazes down at him, soft and warm. This is also a part of youth, isn't it, she murmurs. He despairs internally. Does she think she can get away with anything just by calling it youth? He scrambles upright, slamming his hands down, desperate to change the subject. "Wani-san, instead of that, let's look at the view," he blurts, gesturing out at the open lake. "The wind feels great up here," he says, "and it blows the seasickness right away." This is exactly the kind of youth he meant. But his heart can't take much more of this closeness. He wants to honor her wishes as much as he possibly can. Then she goes quiet. "I'm sorry," she says softly, standing beside him at the rail. Their shadows stretch long across the deck, and a hush falls between them. Since she's on a trip with Oni-san, she admits, she got so happy that she thinks she got carried away. Her face clouds, a flicker of the old self-doubt creeping back in. He turns to her, struck. "But," he asks carefully, "isn't she having fun? Isn't she happy?" His own gaze drops, something turning over in his mind. And his thoughts drift back, to another temple, another trip, long ago. In the memory, the maple leaves fall and someone marvels that it's so pretty right now. Kamizudera. His own school trip. The temple was amazing, a classmate snaps a photo. But the boy he was back then only grumbled that it was freezing. He just wanted to go back to the hotel, he remembers, dragging his feet across the temple boards. His friend pointed out that the view from up there was great. And another insisted the wind felt so good, the same line she would echo years later without knowing it. Back then his friend shot back that the wind is the same wherever you go, so who cares about the view? The line lands on the boy he was, and something in him goes still. "I guess you're right," he'd murmured. "The wind really is the same wherever you go. Let's meet up with Takuya and the others," his friend said. And the two of them walked off together along the rail, the view forgotten, the company all that mattered. Back in the present, it clicks. She's trying her absolute best to make this trip as fun as possible, to rewrite those old, painful memories. That, he understands, is what she meant by doing it over again. She probably thought she'd never go on a trip again in her life, let alone with just a delivery guy. But, he tells her, eyes steady. They are here, right now. And he says the thing he's never let himself say. Because he'd get to be with her, he actually wanted to come on this trip. He was overthinking everything, he admits, the worry finally loosening its grip. Since it's a special school trip, he says, he wants to enjoy it with her with everything he's got. Her eyes fly wide, the words crashing over her. "Let's just enjoy the trip," he declares, "and forget about personal boundaries." "Well then," she says, as another towering attraction rises behind her. "Shall they head to the inn soon?" he asks brightly, booklet in hand, while she blinks up at him. And so they arrive at the inn, its quiet eaves waiting for them. He steps up to the front desk to check in, she trailing shyly behind. "What a beautiful inn," she breathes, as the staff welcome them and lead the way to their room. "Their room," the staff says. Singular. He freezes. "Huh? Sweat beads down his face as the question forms. "Where is the other room?" A staff member, puzzled, informs him that they only requested one room for the entire reservation. His mind goes white, eyes blown wide with dawning horror. He scrambles to apologize, begging the staff's pardon, while she stands quietly at his side. She explains, perfectly calm. She just thought that if they stayed in separate rooms, they wouldn't be able to do youthful trip things. Because, she says with a soft, knowing smile, the real highlight of a school trip starts once you get to the inn, right? His face shatters, sparks flying, every alarm in his body going off at once. Staying in the same room. This time, surely, she is pushing it way too far, right? And on that one impossible room, their school trip night begins.